Hi Lisa, hope you're doing okay. So they've had unrestricted my lives on TikTok earlier when I looked, but they've restricted it again, so I can't actually go on there. And they are suppressing the numbers on here. So I'm silenced, everybody. There's no point in me just doing it to 10 people. I may as well put my time into the research and into the document. So we'll see if the numbers go up, but they are silencing me, and they're only allowing certain people on here, it looks like. So we'll see if the numbers go up a little bit. These are the cheats and satanic baby eaters that it seems they are, okay, according to all of the research. And preying on the innocent, and then anybody that tries to help the children, they just silence them, and they can't actually get the truth out. So it's gone down to 10 people now. Let's see if the numbers go up. This is the trouble with advertising alive, you see, because they, especially with what I was going to show tonight, because I've shown how it's tying into the culling now of the, it looks like, tying in with the culling of the dolphins and the whales as a symbolic name they gave to Dolphin Square in America. And there's lots of dolphins connections tying into it. So that was the evidence that I was going to show. It's gone up a little bit, but I'm being silenced, everybody. 17 people. I'm going to go on anyway. I'm just going to say it anyway. But I can assume that they're only allowing certain people on here, it looks like. This is very, very unusual. Very, very unusual for the numbers to be so low, even with me advertising, to be honest with you. So this shows you how massively concerned they are about my evidence, and it's the truth. It's what the truth is in all of this. I'll go forward anyway. At the end of the day, might as well do it whilst we're here. Someone's put, sort it like I do. Lucky knew you would be on an 8. Someone put. Quite disappointed, but I'm just going to carry on. Okay, I'd already made links to Werner von Braun in this, which links to the Flemings, links to the Krays. He was a German rocket scientist, who was brought across, if the information is correct, which is fitting in with the evidence, from Germany in the 1940s or so to become involved in America, which then Operation Paperclip became MK Ultra program, according to the research. But what I didn't realise, or what I hadn't researched, is that Vera Braun was the brief wife of Adolf Hitler as well. Now that connection to Werner von Braun, it already linked to the Flemings, the Krays, but also Hitler and also Disney. So you had these really big connections through that little bit of information. Anyway, Vera Braun was the wife of Adolf Hitler for a brief period of time, according to the research. She was born in 1912 and she died in April 1945. She was a German photographer who was the long-time companion and just briefly the wife of Adolf Hitler. Braun met Hitler in Munich in 1929 at age 17, when she was an assistant and model for his personal photographer Heinrich Hoffmann. She began seeing Hitler often about 2 years later. Braun married Hitler during a brief civil ceremony. She was age 33, everybody. That number again, the number 33, everyone, the age that Christ was when he died. It's all the way through the evidence now, 33, 13, all of these. There's key numbers in this that become very relevant. And he was 56 at the time, so she was 33, he was 56. And they were married for less than 40 hours, because 40 hours later, according to the information which we have to consider is false, they both committed suicide when the Russians were approaching the bunker. Now, those of you that followed my evidence over the last week or two, you'd have seen that there was a company, when you search for Adolf Hitler on Company's House, called basically something like Adolf Tooth Fairy Hitler. Within that evidence, it linked to 007 references tying back into James Bond, which then means the Flemings again, which links back into, as I said, the information earlier, and it also had references to the intelligence agencies, and it also had a name of James Bond in there as well as some other stuff. So you can see the mockery, the deception. That's practically saying that Hitler was a complete lie, which could well have been, couldn't it? Let's face it. And they made the whole thing up. It might be raining actually, so I may not be able to. Let me just bear with me. Hi, sorry about that. Okay, get back to this. So we were talking about Vera Braun, okay, who was Adolf Hitler's wife for a very short period of time. So anyway, let me get back to this. That's the sister. I was going to do some more research about that later. Okay, so I won't worry about that. Company's House shows that there was a company called Braun Global Limited that had been appointed to a company called BI Computers and Software UK Limited in January 2011, because obviously the Braun family would have continued somewhere along the line, or they may have continued using alias names of them, etc., stemming back from the Braun family and linking in with Hitler. And this company was BI Computers and Software UK Limited. It had been incorporated in 2011 and dissolved in October 2022, right, which is the month that I was escalating my exposure or inquiry, shall we say, at Exbourne Manor, and the exact same month that an interfaith meeting took place involving the Pope and Pietro Parolin, who is somebody within the, hopefully you can hear me, Pietro Parolin, who was someone within the Vatican, and so was Jeff Bezos was in this meeting, and Jeff Bezos' search links immediately from his name to a company in Christchurch in Dorset, right in my investigation, where my investigation was, because Bournemouth's right near it, and then I moved to Christchurch or Exchurch. On the incorporation document for this company, it's got for business. Well, for business is critical throughout the research. Okay, it's got a company called For Business on there. It's critical because that connects immediately to CERN Limited on its incorporation document. Okay, so it makes a link to CERN Limited and the Collider technology, which then links to Peter Mandelson, Jeffrey Epstein, and everything that's been going on in the government over the last few months. Back to Derren Brown as well. Okay, and the Apocalypse Deception. Okay, in relation to Derren Brown, to J.K. Rowling, which links to the Vatican. This is all coming in from the For Business connections throughout the document immediately. Okay, to J.K. Rowling, with links to the Vatican and the blood of the tortured children, in with Sasha Stone, to the Bulgarian Prime Minister Boykov Borisov in the research of Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult, okay, which links into the prophecies of the end of the world. This is all coming in from that name. The research of Julian Assange as well, in the research of Julian Assange, sorry, and a doomsday cult, to Barack Obama via a Christian company, links in with falsified prophecies. We're going to be coming into that a bit later. To the Royal Society London Limited Company, which obviously means royal family, connected to Ghislaine Maxwell. And a Christchurch earthquake appeal company via the research. One of the suspects for the Lee Rigby murder, which involved Keith Palmer, the police constable, murdered outside of so-and-so, and the outside of, was it Westminster or Parliament? I can't remember. But the person that went and gave him first aid happened to be Tobias Elwood, who's the MP for where Exmoor Manor is, and Jimmy Savile's property as well. He's now no longer an MP since this is all being exposed. All from For Business again, to the research of the mayor of New York at the time of the World Trade Center disaster, who is an Italian connected man, which we'll be linking in with the Vatican. The first person in the world to have the Pfizer vaccine. To my former sergeant, introduced me to my wife. To John Harris, connecting with the Knights of Malta and a Jerusalem company that links back to me, and major connections via the White House Limited. And to JP Cord Limited, making critical connections to Ping Pong Limited, believe it or not, in the research of the Pizzagate scandal, directly to a record of Charles Reginald Kirk, in other words, Charlie Kirk, that was shot. In the research of apparently assassinated Charlie Kirk, and an immediate connection to TJ Waste and Recycling, which was the location of a fire in Hampshire, within 48 hours of me publicising the evidence of adrenochrome, the blood of tortured children, linking to the fraud and leading to David Icke and possible drug trafficking companies, and also links to the Russian government from there, and to the intelligence agencies, to the Hacklewitt International Advisory Board, which then is on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which connects to me. I know there's a lot, and we're going to be going on to another subject in a minute, just bear with me, because this is also about them realising they're being exposed, you see, as well. To the research of the Brussels airport terrorist incident in the airport, at the airport in Brussels, which was in 2016, I think, early. To the election centre, in a company called the Election Centre, in the research of Rupert Lowe, linking to criminal firearms companies and possible hunting of children on estates. Directly to Fellowship of St. Nicholas, all right? And that obviously relates to the deception of Father Christmas and Santa Claus. And that actually becomes very, very relevant to how that ties in with Krampus, which was a character linking to Germany. And there's lots of evidence in that linking back into the Vatican again, elsewhere. Also from that company, St. Nicholas Company, to Two Tower Trust. Yeah, Two Tower Trust, which is obviously a reference to the World Trade Center, it appears. And this was in the research of the COVID response. And for the last section, For Business also connects immediately to Shaw and Sons Limited, which is the company that links directly to my school, the 13th century Knights Templar location, and the connection to Waterman offshore companies. Now, it's starting to rain, so I may have to come back on the live a bit later. I've got an umbrella, hold on. Let's see if I can just get that out for them, because it's not chucking it down, it's only a little bit. And you're just going to hear how the evidence is going to be very, very important, linking in with dolphins in a minute. Hopefully I've got my umbrella. Yeah. Okay. Just dry my phone a bit. I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm not looking at the comments too much at the moment. I just need to get this evidence out into the ether, and then I will come back to you. There's a few more on here, which is better, but it's still not enough, everybody. I just can't get to enough people. I should have hundreds of thousands of people listening to this evidence, and they're just restricting it. Anyway, we'll carry on. So I've done that bit. Okay, so within this company, Braun Global Limited, we have a name of Sahi Yizak, which sounds Japanese or something like that, and they connect the company to 11 others, including MTS, Maritime Technologies and Services Limited. They've been incorporated as Dolphin Global Limited. So this is why, or what prompted me to look into the Dolphin element a little bit more, okay, because it had a previous name of Dolphin Global Limited, okay, in November 2008, which is 2 months after the Large Hadron Collider conducted its first experiment, and 9 days later there was a fault at the collider, which links into my dreams and into the evidence. And it changed before its name was changed for the only time in November 2010, which is the same month that CERN Limited was incorporated. Okay, so we've already seen there's a link back to the previous company immediately to CERN Limited, and now we have this change of name in that same month. It has first-class company services on its incorporation document. So we have this Dolphin reference coming in from this apparent possible link into Adolf Hitler. So Dolphin references feature throughout the research, including a link made to the leader of Qatar, which links to Sherborne, to the Canary Wharf building, linking to the Israel attacks of 2023. There's also a Dolphin connection to Virginia Wade. Okay, and Virginia Wade was a former tennis champion of 1977, which is the year I was born, and she was born in Bournemouth, which is where my investigation began. Not only was she born in Bournemouth, she was schooled at Talbot Woods, which is where the person where my ring was obtained from lived, okay, who I was led to believe was my wife's grandfather. And this ring, as you're aware, links to the Vatican, to the 13th bloodline of the Illuminati, 3 connections to the intelligence agencies, back into the person that introduced me to my wife, to the COVID situation, to the testing for COVID via a company called Eurofins. We're talking immediate connections. Actual Vatican Roman companies coming in from Companies House really quickly. And there's also links to the Eurofins also tested for the horse meat scandal of 2013, where it was alleged that horse and pig's meat had been getting into the food chain. Was it really horse meat and pig's meat? So the leader, so Virginia Wade, born in Bournemouth, schooled in Talbot Woods, but they left England for a while, went to South Africa, and then she was then schooled in Kent. All right, so we have a connection to both of the exact specific locations where I lived, initially born, and then where I lived afterwards. And not only that, but Talbot Woods connects via the tennis location there, which is the West Hants Tennis Club, which is in Talbot Woods, is where my father-in-law was playing tennis, and where my wife's best friend was working at the time that we were introduced. Okay, cool. Her name is Leanne Witcher, and she ended up moving to Wimborne and working for Siemens. Now, Wimborne is relevant because it is where the Deborah Fleming and the Flemings had lived, which creates massive links in all of this, and initiate the my removal from Exmoor Manor. And also it's where Tim Berners-Lee had lived, who is the creator of the World Wide Web for CERN from 1989, and the first website was then published in 1991, which is the year of my favourite movie, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Well, Leanne worked for Siemens, and Siemens is the company that links to the Collider technology. And Siemens links to Jeffrey Epstein immediately, and it connects to the Nazi regime back in before the Nazi regime even really came about with the world wars. It was connected into them. Originally founded Siemens, this is in 1847, so 3 years before the Companies House register, the Companies House register began. Anyway, getting back to this. So Talbot Woods, we have a connection to, I'm going to tell you why this is relevant. We have a connection to Kent, we have a connection to South Africa, and we have a tennis connection. all right, to Wimbledon and major tournaments. She was a major champion in 1977, the year that I was born. And my father had a contract at Wimbledon Tennis Club, the actual Wimbledon All England Lawn and Tennis Club. Okay, and I worked with him as a carpenter for a while there, the BBC Studios. We actually worked at Pfizer. I think this was all deliberate, everybody. This was all staged. Pfizer, British Telecom, we did work for. All of these are major organisations tying in with this. Of course, Pfizer is German as well, which is very, very important. So, Virginia Wade, the reason I mention her is she had a statue of a dolphin made for her, okay? And that dolphin went up at London Bridge in 1973. Now that ties in with the year of the completion of the construction of the World Trade Center disaster, which was, World Trade Center, which was originally started to be built in 1966, which is the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. That same year in 1973, when the Dolphin was built, is also when the SWIFT international transaction system started to be used in the international fraud, okay, to transfer money into offshore accounts. 1973 is also when the Soylent Green movie, okay, came out, which appears to relate to me, even though I was not born. Okay, so I was born in 77, and this movie came out in 1973. And that year, that movie was about a innocent police officer in 2022 that was literally exposing a dystopian future involving corporations, large corporations. So we had this statue of a dolphin for Virginia Wade. Well, the next equivalent champion in the British sense was Andy Murray. Okay, and he became, where is it? I've got it here. Let me just make sure I get this right. Oh, sorry, also with Virginia Wade, her father was significantly linked to the Church of England. So we have a link into the falsified prophecies in all of this to them. She's also connected, so I forgot this, via the Company's House Records. She connects to Legalinks Limited, or Legalin and with an X Limited, which connects to Global X Limited. Global X, the symbol for the bloodline of Christ, tying into the Knights Templar. She also connected to Age CYMRU, which relates to Wales, and that has CYM in its name, which is the same name as the company that relates to the adrenochrome and the blood of the tortured children on the document that I'd acquired. And the address for that company, CYM, goes straight to Trump Towers in New York, immediately to it. And there's a lot of symbolism surrounding Trump Towers. If you go and look at it as a plan view, looking down on the Trump Towers, you'll see it is a double pyramid, everybody. An inverted pyramid, one smaller than the other, two pyramids. There's a lot of other symbology. In fact, this is thanks to somebody else that gave me this information, so thank you if you're watching this. And I've verified some of the information. You then make connections in from that building back to the Flemings, okay, from the people that built that building, Trump Towers. You then make a link back to Wimborne and to the research surrounding literally the Flemings that were involved in removing me as a director from Exbourne Manor, and some other connections as well there. Anyway, Andrew, where else does she also connect to? So it's an Age company, all right, first of all, so Age, CYMRU. Well, Age features right throughout the research, okay, the charity Age, all the way through my document. She also connected to Powers Masonic Hall. So we have a Masonic connection via a name record for Virginia Wade as well. So Andrew Murray was the next relative British champion, tennis champion, at a key time in 2012. Okay? So this obviously becomes relevant. I don't know if you noticed, but Vera was born in 1912. Vera Braun, okay, who was Hitler's wife. She was born in 1912. Well, that is the year of the Titanic disaster, which links to the Flemings. And this is obviously now 100 years later. There's no coincidence with this, everybody. We now hit that he became champion in 2012. Okay, and he connects to Satanic Temple United Kingdom via the Company's House records, which links to the intelligence agencies, to the goldsmiths that we come to in a minute, and major areas of the criminal network. Murray was at the Dunblane massacre in 1996 and wouldn't speak about it for years. And every area of research surrounding the Dunblane massacre links back into the criminal network and the apparent crimes against the children. His mother makes major connections into the fraud. This is Andrew Murray's mother, and to Donald Trump, to Candace Owens, to Charlie Kirk, and to the end of the world Iona prophecy that links to the Flemings and the office that I worked at in Bournemouth when I was a beat bobby in Bournemouth. Dolphin also becomes relevant to the royal, becomes relevant to the royal government and aristocratical. Is that right? Aristocratical. One of you know what I mean. Dolphin Square in London, which is linked to an apparent major investigation relating to Jersey, Jimmy Savile, and other major players in all of this, with an investigation beginning in 2014. So you can see how the Dolphin connection is now appearing relevant. Well, why? Why? Well, I think I know why. Because the dolphin cull at the Faroe Islands in Denmark has been going on since the 9th century. Now, the other day, a TikTok just popped up on my TikTok channel about this, and I didn't look into it at that point. It was from this that it stemmed me to look into it. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the dolphin cull that takes place every year. Research shows that whaling, now it's whales and dolphins, okay, in the Faroe Islands, or it's called the Grindadrap, okay, that we're going to come to in a minute, or in England it's called the grind, which becomes important in a minute. From the Faroe, from the Faroese terms, Grindalvalur meaning pilot whale and drap meaning killing. It's a type of drive hunting that involves herding various species of whales and dolphins, but primarily pilot whales, into shallow bays to be beached and killed and butchered. Each year, an average of around 700 long-finned pilot whales are caught, alongside varying numbers of Atlantic white-sided dolphins. The practice dates back to the 9th century, and many Faroe Islanders consume. It talks about consuming the meat of them. My phone was cracked to have that bit, see that bit. And it's an important part of their history. Since 1948, the hunt has been regulated by the Faroese authorities, required its participants to be trained, involved modern boats and communications, and has been supervised by the police. 1948 is the same year that the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom was originally founded, which is linked to the Doomsday Cult, everybody. The year prior to that was when the Doomsday Clock began in 1947. The Association of Chief Police Officers are massively implicated in the crimes against children, the blood of the tortured children, and the plans against all of creation, according to my research. They connect to Deborah Fleming as well, and that connects to Julian Assange, into Robert Fleming, back into the Doomsday Cult, which is so significant to Australia. Participants were trained, involving modern boats and communications, have been supervised by the police. The evidence for whaling on the Faroe Islands dates back to, as I've said, the early days of Norse settlement from 800 to 900 AD during the Viking Age. After 999 AD, when Sigmundur Brestison brought Christianity to the Faroes, the islanders began keeping records of their whale kills for the purpose of taxes due to the King of Norway. Norway has already proved significant in the evidence in relation to the possible origin of the criminal agenda, or at least an element of the origin going back a long way, and how this ties in to the Khan name. Now, there is another article from the 14th of September 2021 where there was anger over 1,400 whales and dolphins being butchered. And it is awful what they do to these animals, everybody. It's just awful. I've seen some of the videos. If it's real, I mean, it looks like it's real. It could be a deception, but the sea being blood red. And, you know, these are animals that we should definitely not be killing. You know, these are probably the second most intelligent animals on Earth. It's absolutely horrendous, everybody. And this is a good example of where we've gone wrong, where humanity has gone wrong. Because, you know, anyone that says that we shouldn't kill dolphins shouldn't be eating meat. All right, we shouldn't be eating meat because, and this is my opinion. This is my opinion, because the animals within the abattoirs die in an awful way as well. All right, and I'm sure most people that eat meat would not be able to look a dolphin in the eye or a cow in the eye as they take that animal's life and they rely on somebody else. We really need to start understanding our own inner corruption of morality in relation to this, everybody. All right, you really, really do. It's very important, because what has come with the slaughtering of the animals, it actually leads into the slaughtering of the children and the desensitizing of, you know, it's a big dramatic difference, but it really is part of this, okay, because it desensitizes humanity to life, other life, okay, and this is why we're so flippant now about killing animals that we think are insignificant, when actually we need to value all life, to be honest with you. So anyway, let's see where this goes. It's quite interesting where this now leads from the dolphins. A search for Grinderdrap, which is the name of the event, Company's House. So I literally typed in Grinderdrap, Company's House. The second entry was a parliamentary debate from the 11th of July 2022, 2 days before Anthony Roberts resigned from Exmoor Manor, triggering my investigation. Now, within this debate, they dramatically oppose the culling of the dolphins and the whales in Denmark, okay, during this event. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us they were worried that the evidence may link back to the government, to the children, and how it was connecting into dolphins and into that event, I suspect, because the timing, and look where it leads anyway, all right, but the timing of that, the 11th of July 2022, all right, I think they realised, oh my goodness me, this is all now going to come out because of what Gary's finding. Let's make it seem as though we're really against that culling, all right? Let's make us really show that we're appalled by that. So we distance the government from that event and how it may tie back in to the crimes against the children. Now, what I think's happened is that has been, we've got to consider this, haven't we? The children have been being massacred in relation to the blood of the children, tying into the symbolism surrounding that massacre of the dolphins in Denmark, all right, because there's just too much information. Well, let's go a little bit further anyway. So people within this debate are John Nichols from the Scottish National Party, Kerry McCarthy from Labour. I'm going to come to her in a minute because she seems the most prominent. Patricia Gibson from the Scottish National Party, Margaret Ferrier, an independent, Ben Lax from Plaid CYMRU, CYM again in it, which links to Wales, the same initials as the company involved in the adrenochrome. Andrew Griffith from the Conservatives, Ruth Cadbury from Labour, Sir Christopher Chope from Conservatives. I'm going to come to McCarthy in a minute, but let me just speak about Christopher Chope. So the property, the joint property that I have with my wife is in a place called Burton, which is just north of Christchurch. And the MP for that location is Christopher Chope, okay, that I've just mentioned in this debate. He became the MP, I think it was in 2025 he was positioned. And this is the year when they planned stealing that property from me through the fraud using the fake forgery within the civil process, tying in with a non-molestation order, which they faked as well. And that was involving Marcus McCorkle. And McCorkle Limited, okay, is a company that links straight to my ring again, okay. So they used this fake non-molestation order to try and stop me having contact with my wife, to discuss how we were going to deal with our joint property, which was in Burton, just north of Christchurch. It comes under Christchurch practically, okay, where this MP is. And this MP, of course, what I've done is started emailing Christopher Chope over the crime that they're committing in relation to that property. Well, Mr. Chope, even though government guidelines says if you are a landlord or you live in a property that's on an MP's area, you can contact your MP about any issues in relation to that area. Now, they tried suggesting that because I was renting it, I couldn't contact them. So they were panicking, all right? They now panicked so much that Christopher Chope is the only MP out of 650 that over the last few months, so initially I was sending emails to 650 MPs, okay, in the first few months, got some responses back. As soon as I started mentioning the threats of directed energy through the cell towers and tying that in with CERN, silence, absolute silence. Nobody would respond to me. So Mr. Chope has responded because he's felt he's had to. But what he's trying to do, he's now said, Gary, words to the effect of, I noticed that your home address is Exbourne Manor, which is in Bournemouth. Can I suggest that you contact the MP for Exbourne Manor? Mr. Chope, I've already tried that. It's Tom Hayes. Tom Hayes became the MP after Tobias Ellwood. He's refusing to actually respond to absolutely any emails whatsoever, even though, obviously, Exbourne Manor is right in the heart of this, and this is where Jimmy Savile's former property was. So they're all seriously in trouble, and they know it, everybody. And now we've got Christopher Chope in this debate, linking him with the Dolphin massacre. So now I'm starting to linking him in to a cover-up surrounding that Dolphin coal, tying into this evidence. But let's go into a little bit more detail. So I haven't even gone into all of the MPs, but we're going to look at one of them because she was the most prominent in the debate in government. Let's just read this bit first. The article and other information shows that Grindr is more commonly known as the grind, as I said earlier, and it says about that in that parliamentary debate. Okay, it says that it's called the grind. Okay, now this, I believe, is where Grindr is going to have come from. Okay, the dating app. Okay, that will be tying into all of this, I'm almost certain. Company sales shows that, we'll do this first of all. Shows that the Grind Productions Limited have been incorporated in February 2012. So this is February, March, April, 2 months before the meeting took place with Jeffrey Epstein, CERN scientists, and Stephen Hawking, which was the same month that a big earthquake occurred a few days earlier. Well, on the incorporation document for the Grind Productions Limited, you have the formationscompany.com. Well, that links to the research of world leaders, including Donald Trump, including Benjamin Netanyahu, including the leader of Iran, the former leader of Iran, and it connects to Fleming Co. Limited immediately. Okay. Not only does it link to that, it connects to the Rapid Response Team, which were the ones that were trying to get me, threatening me to take my motorhome, okay, which then links back in with the Royals and in with the YMCA and other links into the falsified element of the Christianity in all of this, which we'll come to in a minute. It's mind-blowing. What is now being uncovered is just monumental on the most unimaginable scale, everybody. So not only does it link to back into the rapid response research, it connects to a halal company immediately. Well, halal is the Muslim faith in relation to the draining of blood from the innocent. Okay, oh, sorry, from the animals. Okay, and what do they do with the dolphins? First of all, I'm going to explain this, no matter how graphic it is, everybody, because we need to understand the evil that is going on in this world, and we are paying for it. We are the ones actually facilitating everything that I've been talking about. Every time you pay tax, every time you pay your insurance, you are actually paying for this. All right. So the dolphins, what they do is they take a special knife, and under their dorsal fin, they slice it, and it severs its spinal cord. Okay, which paralyzes it. That's the first thing they do. For 13 minutes, it's alive. Okay, before it's killed. So from the first injury, for 13 minutes or so, again, the number 13. Unbelievable, isn't it? The number 13 again. 13 minutes. So they sever its spinal cord, and they then slice its throat. And these animals are the most trusting animals you could possibly have in humanity. They trust humans generally. They will come to humans. They are very inquisitive animals, very loving animals, as we know. And they basically drain the blood. The whole purpose of slicing the dolphin and the whale's throat is to drain the blood from them. And now we have a link to halal from the research of that, tying into the world leaders, tying into Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, into the crimes of the children, into the dolphin connection to Jimmy Savile, all of these connections being made into the crimes against children. So now we have to seriously consider that this is what they've been doing to the children. Now, I'd already had evidence of the skinning of children alive and all of that other stuff. Now, make no mistake, everyone, if they're able to end the world, they are probably very close. If they have that capacity, there is no way out from this, everybody. So they are absolutely cornered. So the realization of them trying to end the world is potentially very realistic, very, very possible in this. But I am their way out. Okay, I am their way out. I am humanity's way out. I am creation's way out to actually, through this evidence, all right, to absolutely save everything in all of this through this evidence, along with potentially another person. All right, it is really so critical that this becomes the priority for all of humanity. So anyway, they then sever the throat of the animals. They use a hook, normally when they're alive. So if they're only allowed to kill them when these animals are beached. Okay, so if they're not beached, what they do is they put this tool, I can't remember what it is, but it's like a hook, a blunt hook. I think that's what it's called actually. And they put it in the blowhole of the animals, okay, of the whales or dolphins, and they drag the animals, which will obviously stop them breathing. Okay, so they're suffocating them, and they drag them to beach them, and that's when they sever their spinal cord, and when they cut the throat of these wonderful, wonderful animals. So we have this connection to the draining of the blood immediately through the research into halal and the Muslim faith. Rishi Opal is in the People record. Now, I've only gone a little bit further into this. I'm going to find loads when I go into this, all right? So I need to do a bit of research. But Rishi Opal is in the People record and connects to Dangerous Productions Limited. Notice these production names. This is what I'm finding to the connections to the children and the crimes against the children is the production film companies that make the link. All right, you've got Ingenious Film Partners 2, massive one because it connects to the incorporation document of Royal Foundation, Prince and Princess of Wales, which links directly to Judgment Day, everybody. Now, I don't believe the judgment should be about the end of the world. The judgment needs to be a new system on Earth. And then now, look, as I've said, if the way that we save creation is through the letting the consequences of what has happened on Earth go in terms of how we deal with it on Earth against these people, I think we have to be accepting that is going to happen. All right, we have to seriously consider that, because if not, we're cornering these people to such an extent if they have the capability to end the world, I may be cornering them into a position where there is no way out. And then what do I become? Inadvertently, I become potentially the Antichrist. Okay? So I have to really, really think about whether the forgiveness in terms of what happens on earth to these people. Now, I still believe there will be a spiritual judgment of these people, but I believe their spiritual salvation could come through the disclosure of the truth, through full repentance, and through a full commitment to change this. Because the deception goes back a very long time. If I had to choose forgiveness or I don't forgive and I corner them to such an extent they end everything, of course I don't want that. I want to avoid that at all costs. All right, and I don't want to be party to being blamed for the end of creation. Okay, on a false judgment event, which I believe will be an unjust judgment upon earth. And again, that links into the number 13 with strong concordance number of the strong concordance number within the scripture, where it says the hidden hand of the creator and them. I think that represents them. If they have the ability through collider technology, or let's just say, now it's possible that it's a lie, or I could just call out a judgment here and say, look, I think you come up with this as a false threat to humanity. I don't believe it exists. You're going to be facing the consequences no matter what, because you cannot get away with what you've done. All right, and I could take that as a chance. But if I get that wrong and this technology and this threat is real, then I'm pushing them into a corner that they may do something where there's no coming back. So this, you can imagine the huge consideration going on in all of this with me. And not only me, but there's others as well now that I'm, and this really is a very important decision for everyone to consider in this. Okay, it really, really is. Now, I'm going to come to the comments later. I just want to get this evidence out, and then I'll go through the comments to sort of respond, because there will obviously be lots and lots of opinions about what I'm saying, and I understand that, and hopefully you understand the position I'm in all of this. It really is quite monumental, and I've got to get this right, everyone. All right, I've really got to get this right. So, coming back to the evidence. So they connect to Rishi Opal. Yeah, this is quite significant. So Rishi Opal is in the People record and connects to Dangerous Productions Limited that had been incorporated in August 2006. So that's when I moved, or it's the same year that I moved from Kent to Dorset. Now remember, the evidence is suggesting that I have the blood potentially within me of Christ. As big as this sounds, the evidence is, this is what it's saying, everybody. All right, you may want to turn off and not listen to me. I understand. However, I suggest you don't. I suggest you don't, everyone. All right, because the evidence is suggesting that I have the blood potentially of Christ within me, but also of Lucifer. So it means I'm that split, all right, with duality potentially. That's what the evidence is saying, everybody. I can't ignore the evidence, all right, along with potentially somebody else in this, have that split of becoming the saviour, or potentially triggering the end of everything through my evidence as well, you see. So I'm really trying my best. I'm trying my absolute best to make the right decisions in all of this. So I make sure I'm on the right side of this. Now, anyway. So this Dangerous Productions was incorporated 2006, and it has Westco nominees on its incorporation document and in its People record. This makes the link to the paedophile information exchange and to the World Trade Center disaster. So when you go and look at Westco nominees, you'll see on the Company's House records they have removed the company name from the incorporation document. I've only seen that about 4 or 5 times now. Okay, and I think this is now why they've done it. I think it's because of this very moment, this evidence that I'm finding. It was to potentially actually for me to find it, okay, because that makes the link to the Liberty Fund group, to the Silverstein Real Estates in America, which relates to the World Trade Center. After the World Trade Center disaster, you had the Liberty Fund in relation to the disaster to then rebuild whatever they did. And obviously the World Trade Center is all to do with what I'm exposing. I actually believe it's essential to everything that we're talking about here, linking in with the Flemings and everything else. But that also links to the Paedophile Information Exchange, because the Liberty Group were the ones via the National Council for Civil Liberties that were affiliated to the Paedophile Information Exchange. So what we've now got is this link, not only to what I've said already, we've now got a link to the dolphin reference, to the Paedophile Information Exchange, to the World Trade Center disaster, as well as the other things I've just told you, almost immediately. So, of course, I'm either being led to believe that these children are being massacred like those dolphins, or they have been. Now, obviously, I have not been party to any children being abused or being unalived or anything like that. So I can't say 100% that that's really happening. I can't say that. They have given us information suggesting it is, but I can't say that it is definitely. So we have to consider that maybe, and pray that maybe these children it's not been happening. Okay. So that will go some way to me hoping that's the case. To, come back to what we were talking about earlier. Now then you've got, obviously, are the terrorist incidents deception? We've got evidence suggesting the terrorist incidents, some of them at least, are a deception, such as the Lockerbie bombing, where the suspect links back to Pan Am American Airwaves and to Jeffrey Epstein and into the Rockefellers. So we can assume that was a deception from what they told us. I don't believe, from the evidence I found, I don't believe that George Floyd actually died. So if we follow this through, we could potentially conclude that maybe they've staged the evidence for me to find it, to think that the crimes were happening at the extent that they are, but they're not. I don't know that for sure. So I really am the split in this. I've got to presume they are happening, but also some of it could be a deception. I mean, whatever way you look at it, these people are evil. Let's face it, whatever way you look at it, these people are evil. And whichever way you look at this, you have a criminal financial system at the very foundation of this, okay, which has gone against the creator. We know that, okay? Anyway, I'm just going to carry on reading and getting through the evidence, because there's a lot of thinking needs to be done. I need to build some more evidence around what I'm going to be telling you in a minute as well. So anyway, we have this link to the Paedophile Information Exchange of the World Trade Center disaster. Brendan James O'Loughlin connects dangerous products to another company that I need to go into a little bit more. So what about Kerry McCarthy, who was the prominent person in the meeting, okay, regarding this dolphin and whale killing? So she was one of the MPs that was making most of the comments. So she was born in 1965. She's a British politician who has served as a member of Parliament for Bristol East since 2005. So around the year that I was starting to talk about moving away from Kent. A member of the Labour Party, she served as Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Climate, which is interesting, from July 2024, which is the month that I started publicising blood of the tortured children tying into the criminal network, until September 2025, which is the month that they arrested me as my staged arrest. She was Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Rural Affairs will come under the potential hunting of children on estates, and how that links in with all of this. From 2015 to 2016. She studied at the University of Liverpool, reading Russian studies, right? Now, obviously, it's obvious the Russian government is in collaboration with all other governments around the world, and that the conflicts are all a deception, and they always have been, everybody. Before studying law at the City of London Polytechnic, she qualified as a solicitor in 1994 and worked as a lawyer for Abbey National Treasury Services and also for Merrill Lynch Europe. Abbey National links immediately to the Flemings, back into the end of the world Iona prophecy, into the World Trade Center disaster as well. Merrill Lynch also makes major connections into the international criminal network and the crimes against humanity and the agenda that we're talking about. She was a director of London Luton Airport from 1999, we're going to come to that in a minute, to 2003, and a director at Britain in Europe from 2002 to 2004, the head of public policy on the Waterfront Partnership. McCarthy began a doctorate on labour links with the City of London at Goldsmiths College. Okay, so linking in with the Goldsmiths family. We've already mentioned the Goldsmiths earlier with that research. Okay, so we've now got a link to the Goldsmiths, and they are linked directly into the satanic elements of this, into the fire that supposedly occurred, again, could be a deception, at the Grenfell Tower. Did all of those people really die in that fire? Looks like they did. Now they're connected to the Temple's Trust, the Goldsmiths, which links to the actual management company that was overseeing the building, the Grenfell Tower, at the time of the fire, which was in 2017, key year. And the building, I can't remember, I haven't got the evidence in front of me, but the research surrounding the building, the construction, the company, okay, that was involved in the cladding, because obviously, as you've heard, I'm sure, they are talking about the cladding was the cause of the fire. Guess what company incorporated the cladding company? Jordan's, which means an immediate link to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, again, the main company in the fraud, that is. So anyway, we have McCarthy had been appointed to London Luton Airport. I've said that in 1986. He was, sorry, hold on. Let's go back. Missed a bit there, I think. Oh yeah, no, I've mentioned the Goldsmiths. So McCarthy had been appointed to London Luton Airport Limited on the Company's House record that had been incorporated in 1986. It has Slaughter and May, everybody. Slaughter and May on its incorporation document. A criminal company that was incorporated in 1954, the same year as the foundation of CERN. Now this actually links all the way through the four. Big parts of the word, the research connects into Slaughter and May. Okay, now think about the wording. Slaughter, obviously we've just been talking about the slaughtering, and May appears to be a very important month as to what may be happening to the children. When did Madeleine McCann go missing? 3rd of May 2007, and I have the evidence that suggests she was skinned and that Prince Harry was wearing the skin of Madeleine McCann at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in 2019. So she'd been appointed to London Luton Airport. Robert William Brighouse connects London Luton Airport to Christian Engineers in Development, okay, which is obviously a Christian element there. So we have the falsified prophecy element, and that links into quite a few Waterman companies that I'd never seen before. Now, that doesn't mean it's related to my family in any way, shape or form. It may be they were using it to reference me, because I am at the centre of all of this, who knows, but there's lots and lots of Waterman companies. They also connect to Network Rail companies. Now, Network Rail had already linked immediately, literally, right to Keller Group PLC. Keller Group PLC is the company that created the control panel for the Large Hadron Collider, which is relevant to my dream, and is also linked. They're also linked to Palex Corporate Services Limited in this research, which connects to Calder Island Development Company Limited, stemming from the research of Maria Farmer, who was the initial accuser of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so we have this link into all of this from the initial accuser of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, remember what I've been saying about the deception in this. And remember how I said how that could be tying into last night, how that could be tying into the news that you're seeing of the underage restrictions for social media to lead to digital currency control, leading to the full currency control, to potentially lead into the agenda regarding the collider technology and the falsified prophecies? Or are they putting that there for me to find it because of who I am? Now, they obviously gave us the Jeffrey Epstein files for a reason. The big question is, why is Maria Farmer connected to the same criminal companies as the crimes against the children? The person that made the allegation against Jeffrey Epstein in the first place. Why is Virginia Guthrie connected into the same centralized criminal network? And why does Juliette Lewin, who I spoke to on the Isle of Wight, look exactly like Virginia Guthrie? Identical. And she connects to the Eversheds, and the Eversheds link to Sasha Stone. And Sasha Stone makes the link to the black nobility families that I'm going to come to in a minute, and the apparent blood of the tortured children. What if it's all been a deception? Now, it can't all be a deception, but because we know that children are being abused, but whether that's a byproduct of the system and it isn't actually because of the system, but they want us to believe it is, I don't know that. This is just a theory in this, because we have to ask, why are all these people making these allegations actually part of the deception in relation to all of this? Why is Millie Dowler's mother, for example, connected to the criminal network, and why isn't she responding to my video before she knew that connection? Bearing in mind she might have known I had information to support who the offender was in this. Yet Millie Dowler's mother connects back into the deception, into the criminal network. Okay, the Millie Dowler case links to the phone scandal. Okay, the international phone scandal, which links into the other murders. Daniel Morgan's murder, who was linked into the Freemasons, it appears, makes massive connections from that investigation via the Company's House records back to Jimmy Savile's building, which links to Exbourne Manor. Why put me in Exbourne Manor? Why even stage me to become part of Exbourne Manor? It does not make sense. It does not make sense. I was not involved in any way with any of this, the Freemasons or anything like that. The only thing I can think of is they know who I am in this, and they knew that this is what I was going to do, and that I was going to be the split in duality and work out the deception and actually bring about a new earth for humanity, or lead Earth into destruction by cornering them to such an extent where there is no way out for them, if everything was real. Lots to think about, everybody. Anyway, what I'm finding, I'm not going to go too much because I haven't done a lot more on this, but actually, no, there's a bit more actually I need to say, sorry. There is a little bit more I just need to go into. So this links now immediately to the control panel, as I've said, via the Network Rail company. There's also links into a company called 15 Billion BP, which is already researched featured in my research, multiple links to the fraud. So of course I'm having to assume that that's 15 billion, a mockery that they're stealing from humanity through the tax. That probably is going to be the case, let's face it, because we can see the disparity between the rich and poor. This is why there's that disparity, everybody. Make no mistake, they're using the money stolen from the masses through the tax and other financial institutions to pay for their mansions, to pay for their cars, holidays and everything. So whichever way you look at this, it's pure evil, even if some of the other stuff is a deception. Now, it could be some of it's a deception, some of it's real, and they've thrown some elements of deception in there to try and confuse everybody as to what is real and what's not. But we 100% do have a criminal system in place, everybody, and they are exploiting. So whichever way you look at it, it's got to change. Richard Ernest Gooding connects London Airport to 36 companies, including Royal Docks Trust, London, West Ham United, linking in with football, High Speed Rail, which will tie into the laundering of money through the High Speed Rail link, which is a massive, massive crime against all of us. And they're now saying, aren't they, it's going to be costing multi-billions more than they ever thought, and it's going to be a lot slower than they said as well. Stuart John Miller connects London Luton Airport Limited to 5 companies, including, this is interesting, Mad as a Bean Limited. Well, yeah, they are, it seems. And also to House of Devil, D-E, separate word, V-I-L, Devil. House of Devil and Mad as Bean Limited. All right, unbelievable, isn't it? So now that company, Deville one, was they were appointed there in May 2024, 2 weeks after I exposed, okay, the evidence linking into the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which connects back to me via Ingenious Film Partners, which links to Judgment Day. Company's House shows that Gillian McCarthy, born 1972, and different record, okay, is linked to a company called, it's not definitely her, this one, because it's Gillian McCarthy, slightly different date of birth, but I suspect it is an alias for her, to St Mark's Place Limited, where they had been appointed in 2005, and it was incorporated in when the company was incorporated, where they'd been appointed in 2005 when the company was incorporated, and it dissolved in June 2011. it had been incorporated by the exact same companies as Exborn Manor Freehold Limited. So that is why I've mentioned that. So it had been a criminal company. The Faroese government oversee the Faroe Islands whale and dolphin cull, and they positioned somebody called Binir Johannesson, as the Prime Minister in April this year. Okay, so they positioned him. Now it looks as though he's going straight back into the same things. I've found a connection. It looks like back into the Murray family almost immediately from an alias name for him. So the Murray family ties back into the Dunblane massacre, into Donald Trump, into Candace Owens, and everything I've just told you about. And you're talking almost immediately, everybody. This isn't like a 30 companies away or anything like that. There's over 5 million registered companies, and we're talking far too quickly to be a coincidence, everyone. So anyway, let's talk about, before I go, and then they'll come to the questions once I've said this, what else has been found? Well, it's massive. Okay, so the Orsini family is one family of the black nobility family, okay? There's several other families which I knew about, but I hadn't delved into them. But now more information has come to me which suggests how important it was. The Orsini family came up with a double bookkeeping process. Okay, I can't remember the wording, but basically creating one set of true accounts for a company and a second set of accounts which will be false. Okay, now this has led to the centralized criminal network that we're now in, which is obviously linking in with Satanism in all of this, and they connect, the black nobility family connect centuries ago into all of this, okay, and they connect to information that suggests they are also, which I've been talking about, okay, there's now information to support it, as well as all of the other stuff I found, where they literally inverted Christianity, and they corrupted the blood ritual element, which is what I've been talking about, of the Holy Communion, okay, tying in to blood sacrifice, looking into demonic elements as an inverted deception within Christianity. This is now actually being found within evidence, as well as being supported through the Company's House records, which then, of course, ties into the potential truth about the blood of the children and how this relates to the extension of life that I've been talking about, and why we have these links to the Christian organisations so heavily in all of this. And of course, it also then supports the deception that I've been talking about, where they set up the ability of the deception of Christ's crucifixion representing the forgiveness for future sins of humanity, not just the past. Well, that sets up the future of sin, doesn't it? It sets up the ability to continue leading in a sinful life, how that tied into the blood of the children, the massacre of the children, if it's true. You know, I still have to say it is. I still have to say it's true because the evidence is so overwhelming. How they were potentially putting the remains of the children in the food chain and all of this stuff. So we have that connection now into the Orsini family and to the accounting fraud that goes worldwide. Now, this goes back a very long time because they also link into apparent connections to the bloodline of Christ in this as well, you see, which is, of course, it goes completely against Christ, because we know that, because if Christ is connected to the Creator, we know that moral conscience came from somewhere. Well, what they've done is they've skipped moral conscience as to what they know is right and wrong by treating everyone how they would want to be treated. They've skipped that and just gone into causing suffering, you know, and crime, and extended their lives, it looks like, through the blood, etc. Well, that's missing the most important element of the Creator, isn't it? The foundation, really, the character, if you like, through us. Now, we're never going to be obviously as perfect as pure righteousness, of course we're not, but the system they then created from that point onwards deliberately led us into a corrupted mind and a corrupted heart through the substance abuse that came with it, alcohol, then drugs, and that's why they're behind the whole international drug trafficking network, everybody. That's why all the government organisations were set up around it and around this fraud, because it looks like, from the information, the Orsini, it's another family, I can't remember the name, ties in to centuries old, or certainly not the centuries old blood element, okay, but also the more recent bookkeeping fraudulent activity tying into the company's house records. And now we have a worldwide bookkeeping criminal activity in place that they've enticed people in, okay, through limited liability. So people have thought, yeah, limited liability, that means nothing can happen to our company. Yeah, so they've tempted people in through that. They've also tempted people in through avoiding tax, thinking that that's going to be all right in the, because we've got friends, we're part of a secret society, not knowing what's really going on in the ultimate agenda, where the whole thing is being planned out to potentially end everybody, okay, as part of these false prophecies. If everyone would have known that right back at the beginning, and of course we now have to consider, because of this link of the inversion of Christianity, which is now almost certain, everybody, I mean, the evidence is overwhelming and it makes sense in so many ways. Then, of course, the scripture itself was probably a lie in relation to the tribulation event on earth. A lie, okay, to end creation, to lead into that tribulation event, chaos on earth, earthquakes, tsunamis. It's looking, I would say, it's definite, really, from the evidence that I'm finding, that was a lie, okay, tying in with the deception of Christianity and the infiltration that took place, linking in with the black nobility members of this. Now, ironically, it looks as though I'm going to be linked in with the black nobility families via the blood, potentially, bloodline of myself. There is other evidence going on in relation to whether there's some incarnation element in this, because there is one of the, and this is where you've got to have a really big open mind, and me, because this is something quite new to me. One of the, is it the Orsini's or one of the other family members, I think, is supposedly a reincarnated, this is what it's claiming from the information, a reincarnation from somewhere else. Okay, so read into that what you will. That could be false information. We do have to consider, somehow is this technology that they have able to somehow be involved in reincarnation? Have they reincarnated somebody into me? I don't know. We have to consider that. There was an experiment that took place 3 days before I approached Anthony Roberts, and there was a suggestion that experiment may have been to bring the second coming back to Earth. There's actual information suggesting that was the case, and the day after that experiment took place at CERN is when the Georgia Guidestones were removed. The day afterwards, on the 6th of July, they were removed, which that spoke about a depopulation event on Earth, bringing everybody's population, the world, down to 500 million. And then 2 days later, I approached Anthony Roberts. I had no idea about that information before, of course. I had no idea about that back then. So anyway, massive subjects. Now, the black mass becomes very relevant in this. Okay, now this is very early information to me, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the black mass goes back a very long way, ties in with this deception within Christianity, and we've got links into Black Rock, and Black Rock ties into the North Pole, believe it or not, and that connects through the company's house records via the research of the Rupus Nigra, or Nigra, I think it is, on the North Pole, ties into the research on the South Pole of a facility called the Ice Cube Neutrino. Whether that's a real device, I don't know, but the evidence suggests it is. Okay, well, the evidence I've got links those two things together. And of course, what is that? Well, that's the North Pole to the south. And what did my dream show? My dream showed that the collapse of the north of the planet and the south of the planet almost being pulled towards the center. And we have these two now bits of information talking about, obviously, this, and of course, the evidence says they were trying to create a black hole on Earth. Well, if you're going to create a black hole on Earth, is it using two devices to pull the Earth in towards the center, into a point of singularity? And of course, that then makes the link to the core, okay, as in the core of the Earth, but also as in the core of the apple, and how I've been talking about the apple makes such a connection to me, but through timing, through my birth, through the Apple company, through the organization called the St. Pui X, which links into the Vatican, how it ties into the DNA equals X, and all of these X connections being made into me, Exbourne Manor or Bourne X on Christchurch Road, which is it's the X Road, okay, it's Christchurch Road. Then I moved to Christchurch in 2010, from Christchurch Road, from Exbourne Manor to Christchurch, and then I went to Christchurch that year, and then they created CERN Limited that year when I was 33, which is the same age that Christ was when he was crucified. And I was 30 when they introduced me to Exbourne Manor in 2007, which is when I was 30, which is Jesus Christ was 30 when he started his ministry. And then you've got the link to 007 tying into 2007, that year, and Madeleine McCann. And then you go back and look at, well, how old was Jesus when he was in 007, in the year 007, which was 7 AD? He was 13 years old. That number 13 again becomes relevant. It becomes relevant to the ring, to the letter M, which links to the Vatican and links to the intelligence agencies and connects to the 13 bloodlines of Christ document from the ring. Now, the ring becomes even more relevant in all of this again now, because all of the collider technologies, okay, and the light source facilities that they have, which is a facility that they're claiming produces a beam of light of massive significance. Again, the technology could be false, but they use rings. They're all rings, okay, all rings in relation to the collider. Okay, for example, it projects particles, so they tell us at almost light speed around these rings, which then collide together. And the rings become relevant to the, if you've heard of the movie, I'm sure you have, the Stargate project that came out in 1994, which is on my birthday, okay, on the 28th of October 1994, that movie came out. Well, it has a ring which creates a portal through to an Egyptian universe, or an Egyptian connection. We're now finding connections into Egyptology, linking back into the collider links, okay, into the Apple, into Australia, and all of this other stuff, all now making sense and linking in with the exposure. It's massive, everybody, all right? This is so much to take on. I completely understand that, but it is all being documented, all right, and proven through it. Yeah, the Olympic rings, absolutely. And who do the Olympics link to? Me. The Olympic rings, the Olympic companies linked to myself, to the school that I went to, called the Thomas Aveling School, which links to the 13th century, 13th century Knights Templar location, everybody. It's becoming very clear who I'm going to be in, or at least who they are trying to make me seem to be. Let's put it that way. And I am literally the split in this, it seems, and I'm absolutely trying to, trying my best to ensure that I conclude this in the right way. So there's a lot of information going on. I've forgotten loads. Oh, the other thing I've now found is that the so Lady Bathory, if you haven't heard of Lady Elizabeth Bathory, go and look her up. She is the world's biggest serial killer. Okay, back in the, I think it was the 1300s. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. But this is the information they've given us, where apparently she was bathing in the blood of the victims. Okay, so you have a bath bathing and Lady Bathory Elizabeth. The information is suggesting that Queen Elizabeth was named after Elizabeth Bathory. Now, that's very likely going to be true, I would think, in this. The research from Elizabeth Bathory is massive. There is also a bath, sorry, I've forgotten the name of it. This is research I'm still in the process of doing. A bath connection tying into the royal family, all right, where they've set up something with a bath connection, which is, I think that's going to be named after Lady Bathory and this mass murderer from the, I think it was 13th, 14th, 15th century. I can't remember exactly. But I think that ties to Australia. I have to check that. But the other thing, what was it? The other thing that I found out. Oh, yeah. So I mentioned, hold on, I was going to go somewhere with that evidence first. Let me think. Oh, yeah. Let me talk about the crown, Charles's crown. So, oh, that was the other thing. So it ties into the crown. Okay, so this reincarnation within the black nobility family Apparently, there's a reincarnation tied into a particular mythical character in this. That mythical creature, shall we say, can't remember the name of it. That mythical creature is, and I've checked, it's on the emblem for King Charles, okay, on the left-hand side. If you go and look at an image, type in King Charles's shield or coat of arms, you'll see on the left, it's got a lion's head. Anyway, that is apparently a connection into the Antichrist, okay? So then I was doing research earlier. There's an animal on the opposite side, which is a unicorn, a white horse in chains. So I then researched what the unicorn means, and apparently it means the creature that can actually stop the Antichrist or something along those lines. I forgot the exact wording. So it looks as though they put the duality on King Charles's shield. Now, I connect to King Charles in many, many ways. Many ways. So this is suggesting that King Charles is represented by the Antichrist emblem on the, it was Elizabeth Bathory. Bathory. I think that's the right spelling. Bathory. Sorry, I'll come to your comments in a minute. That is suggesting that King Charles is this resemblance or this connection to this satanic link, how that ties in with the Orsini family or the black nobility family, and potentially or others may be represented by this unicorn, which is on the right hand side, which apparently can counteract the Antichrist in all of this. No, it's not Leviathan or Leviticus. I can't remember the name of the. It's in my notes. I've got to do more research around this. So anyway, that was that. Last night I had a dream, which becomes relevant today. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So I was woken up for whatever reason, and there was something else that I remember initially, but I forgot that bit. But I remembered a year of 1333. And it woke me up. 1333. Anyway, looking at the research today, and I thought, we came across something that was like, I wonder if there is a connection to the Flemings back at the time of John Dee, because remember, John Dee was 1300s. He was the inspiration for 007, apparently, according to the research. And the 1300s are quite a key time in all of this. John Dee linking with Richard Hacklewit, which then ties into the Hacklewit International Advisory Board, created in 1995, which links back to me on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. And lo and behold, I checked Fleming 1333. There you have it. You had a battle involving the Flemings in 1333. I couldn't believe it. I saw it. I couldn't believe it. So my dream has now got the evidence to the connection to the Flemings in the 1300s at the time of John Dee. So that's where the influence of 007 would have come from. And it's been followed through the generations from there to when the movies were created in our lifetimes, starting in 1962 or 63, whenever it was, when the first thing came out. So, I'm going to come to the comments actually. So yeah, it's just mind-blowing, and I'm going to find so much evidence into those last few things that I've just told you. Those last few things are just astronomical. So it's pretty much guaranteed, everyone, that we are looking at a deception in Christianity. So any of you that are thinking there has to be a tribulation and there has to be an end of the world, wake up, will you? It's a satanic infiltration. It's now obvious that is not meant to happen. And if you try and facilitate that by saying, wait for Jesus, or wait for this, or wait for that, or there's nothing you can do, Gary, it's going to be happening. You're part of the issue and you are satanically controlled, my friends. The evidence is overwhelming. All right. Now, you may have been programmed and it may not be your fault, but you now have the evidence proving to you what has really been going on, the deception over the last 2,000 years. You need to get behind me. You need to get behind doing something and stop waiting for something else to be done by Jesus or somebody else, because what that will be is them ending all of creation in a tribulation event, which will not bring the true Jesus here, the true Christ. I believe the true Christ is here within the consciousness of certain individuals now to actually bring about this change. I believe that is the case. And you are following a false narrative, following Satan through the evidence. You've got to see that now. All right. If you don't, and all of you hundreds of thousands of people that are waiting for Jesus, or believe that, there has to be a tribulation event and a potential end of creation, you are also part of the problem, and you have been programmed, all right, to be part of the problem. Everybody, the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. You only have to look at moral conscience is the key, everyone, and understand how the system has been used to separate us from the Creator through moral conscience. And if we hadn't have done that, if they hadn't have infiltrated the church and they hadn't inverted Christianity, then we would not be in this mess now, because we would all have no fear of death, or less of a fear of death. We would be having moral conscience as our foundation, treating everybody how we want to be treated, all right, and we would not be in this situation. It's almost guaranteed. And this goes back a very long time. Somebody's put the authorities as right, I'm going to go right back to the comments, so bear with me. You might not want to put any new ones for a minute. I'm just going to go right to the beginning and try and answer a few. I'm sure I've forgotten to tell you something, but we'll come to it later, because I need to do the research. So, hi everyone, I hope you're doing okay. New the world. Lucky we knew you would be on an 8, you've said. The 8 number for my name. Yeah, there's possible double 8 in all of this. I'm just waiting for confirmation. It'd be great if there was a double 8, because that has featured in a lot of the research. So another number 8. Unfortunately, I don't have a TikTok account. Hi, I didn't realise this is TikTok in. Hi, I didn't realise this is TikTok in YouTube, Gary. I wanted you to know that the CDC are saying that schizophrenia is a side effect from the jab, and it's a side effect of adrenochrome, is that? Screen recording it. He said, if all else fails, bring on the alien invasion. Bro using Samsung A16. Doing again. Internet's playing up. What's happened? Someone's put, Lisa's put. Sorry, I'm just going back the old comments. I've actually made it to one of your live streams. Oh, is that hi Tim Full Hat? I think he heard something and stop the live. Yes. Oh yes. Sorry. So did I not mention in the beginning? Oh yeah, I came across, didn't I? Onto so I went to TikTok, and earlier in the day I had been unblocked, and then when they must have heard me say that I'm unblocked, when I went to use it, they blocked it, and I couldn't actually use TikTok again. So I think I got my surround sound on and could hear a helicopter, someone said. Don't know, Gary, out up one finger as if to say, okay, yeah. Yeah, sorry, yeah, this is just you talking about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, my phone was getting wet, but it stopped raining now. Prepared for anything. Be prepared for anything. Hope you're well. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Thank you very much for the comment. Bournemouth has changed big time. Yeah, it was a lovely place when I first moved down there. I've seen a lot more nicer places now, though, in the United Kingdom since. I love Scotland, even with the weather not being as good. I love Scotland, but I'm a real outdoorsy sort of person anyway. So I just learned pyramids used to be plasma, and plasma has been mentioned a lot these past years. That's interesting. What do you mean pyramids used to be plasma? Well, that used to be the name for them. I've just screenshot that anyway. Yeah, plasma becomes relevant to my research as well. Jeff Berwick promotes a plasma machine for wellness. Thank you. Take notes, people. Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't lie. So pointless. Thanks, thanks, Derek. Nice to get some confidence that people are trusting all of this. It does need stopping, Lisa. You're right. No need to check. I'm not implying he lies. Okay, that's fine. No, I have no problem with people checking anything that I'm saying. Absolutely. And I advise that people do. It's nice that people just trust everything. But, I do make mistakes every now and then with some of the connections. So Whale and dolphin kills, terrible cruelty. It's just heartbreaking, everybody. It makes me, if anything's going to make me angry, to be honest with you, it's the crimes against the children. But I've always been a massive lover of animals. So any abuse to animals, it just really, but obviously I'm trying to compose myself, and I've got to think carefully about how I react to all of this. I've just heard on YouTube that they are going to get rid of 90% of the Dartmoor ponies. What, culling the ponies? Oh my goodness me. They are all evil criminal specimens. They are the Illuminate dolphins. I watched a YouTube about them 3 months ago. They are the Illuminate dolphins, someone's put. Okay, thank you. Dolphin means womb. Interesting. Do you have a Discord, Gary? No, I don't use Discord. I haven't done so far, but I could do. Also, thanks very much for your comment. Yes, chronic need on Earth to begin to value and deeply respect all life. 100%, Janine. It's so important. It really is. Because if we desensitize and devalue life, this is a part of the issue as well. Ishmael Perez has said the dolphin were moved off planet. Can't make out if he's for real or not. I wouldn't trust anything that anyone's saying unless they're relating it to the company's house fraud. I'm finding that so many people are actually part of the deception that you think are saying all of the right things. I mean, Candice Owens is neck deep in it, everybody. Tucker Carlson, these are people that everyone trusts. Like, oh yeah, follow Candice. She's got millions of views. People, she's part of the deception. The evidence is overwhelming. I agree. All life should be respected. I cannot even kill a fly. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Any insect, I just keep thinking how little their hearts are. I was watching a little spider on the inside, not the inside bit of my tent, but the next bit, and I was just sitting there thinking, how are you so small and you're able to see and you're able to run around and do what you do and make all these incredible just amazing. And it was tiny. It wasn't like a big, and it just, I know we've all thought that, we should have thought that at some point. And I was just thinking, how incredible is that? Just amazing. Just amazing. I saw a video the other day of someone filmed a dolphin off the coast of England somewhere. Yeah, they are being seen, I think, a lot more or a bit more. Good on you, Lydia. Whales help pacify the tectonic plates under the ocean. They hold codes to human soul, Earth blueprint, as they are the largest mammal on Earth. Are they? Are they the largest mammal? I didn't know that. We do not consent to their blood. Absolutely. I mean, how have we even let that happen? Why are we not literally going and arresting because this debate, it says they have the ability, go and look at it, type it in, debate over this thing, you'll see from July 2022, and they say that they have the ability to stop that's going on, and yet it's still going on even now. I'm sorry, but forget what those people think on the islands of their what do you call it, culture. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Let's give them food instead that hasn't come from a dolphin. That sort of thing cannot be going on. It cannot be going on in this day and age. Oh gosh, read the 90% of Dartmoor ponies. Yeah, that's awful, isn't it? I'm not sure about him either, someone said. Pure evil. Soulless humans, if you can call them that. It's just, I don't know. I can't understand it. The thing is, I know full well you don't need to eat meat to be healthy. You don't need to eat fish to be healthy. Again, I think that was something that was put into the scripture, all right, because I think that enabled the children element through the meat trade. All right, it's probably always gone on since they were actually promoting the meat element in all of this. I feel healthier personally. I feel I've got more money. I feel morally better in myself. Now I could be a lot better, in relation to dairy and stuff like that. But I'm trying to do a lot in this as I say as much as I can. I was walking around the shop the other day. I was thinking, if I was to cut out dairy, how would I, what would I have? Obviously, you can do it with the milk. It does limit you down quite. And then I thought, you know what? I could probably just live off of fruit and veg and actually be even healthier and be better. It's an absolute lie that you need meat, honestly. It's a complete and utter lie. Look at cows, all right? All day they eat grass. Look how big and muscly some bulls are and some cows. It's a lie. You've been absolutely lied to your entire life that you need to eat meat. But I don't, that's a whole. Let me just carry on anyway. These people are beyond evil. That's all right. They can do whatever they please while us minions sit and allow it. Exactly. Exactly, Big Smoke. All the time. What's the saying? Evil will happen when good men do nothing. It will just continue all the time. Good and women, good men, good women do nothing. When they literally sit and do nothing, that's it. The evil will continue. That's how it's gone on. And you don't even need to be, it doesn't need war. This doesn't need fighting. It literally needs the right strategy. How Mother Teresa viewed as a saint, yet is a man trafficking the kids. Yes, I need to do a bit of research on Mother Teresa, actually. It's interesting because someone within the Freemasons, they said to me, one of the comments before they removed the entire correspondence to try and remove their evidence, they said, I haven't heard any connections to the Freemasons, I hadn't heard any major corruptions within the Freemasons other than the Mother Teresa. Now, he made that link. He's been in the Freemasons for 40, 50 years, made that link, then basically removed the entire content from my phone. They managed to infiltrate the encrypted side of things. He's got evidence. He was my last hope till I found Gary. Thanks, Vanessa. C word, and that poor girl that was trafficked by him. C Ward, sorry. Charlie Ward, and that poor girl that was trafficked by him. Yeah, I haven't looked into that actually. Charlie Ward links to the main addresses used throughout the fraud. He's definitely compromised by it, unfortunately. And obviously he's very pro-Trump, which means Trump is compromised. Now, if everything is a deception, even then they're evil because it's a deception. But, we've still got the abuse of the children. That's going to go with this, isn't it? Whichever way you look at this, because we know there's money in children through the corruption within children. So we know that there's at least sexual abuse definitely going on. And obviously many people have claimed to have seen videos which appear to be very realistic of actual crimes against children. So it is looking as though it's all real, I'm afraid. As much as I would love to say it wasn't. I mean, I just can't understand it. This is the thing. And the hard thing for me is my families are literally right at the heart of all of this. But it's possible that they've had to make it seem as though they're involved in the criminal network so that they can protect me. Because the evidence suggests that I was being protected through all of this for some reason, which is probably to do what I'm doing here. And that goes back to the Knights Templar hiding the bloodline of Christ for generations, potentially, through all of this for the right time. Someone's put they have to come forward in truth. Yeah, there is no other way. There really is no other way in all of this. One way or another, that's got to happen if we're going to all get through this. The other option is they don't and they end all of creation. But then they are, if they think they're going to be saved through doing that because falsified scripture or whatever, they're not. I mean, the evidence is obvious that they've also potentially been deceived through the scripture to potentially think that they have to come out and fulfill a prophetic agenda, which was written a very long time ago by satanically linked. And this is why this evidence now linking in the black nobility that I've got is critical, because a lot of the people living now thinking that they would, and this could include the Flemings, John Fleming, etc. It may be possible they've been deceived to believe that they have to bring about a tribulation event and the end of creation to fit the prophecies, and they didn't know. It's possible. I'm not saying that is the case. Yes, I know that, but they said he was taken out and replaced with a good one. But it's been said he's not good either. Well, I know if you're talking about Charlie Ward, it was only last year that a company change happened, which links into the fraud. So if he was replaced, unless it was before the beginning of last year, then he's still part of it, I don't believe a lot of this getting rid of people, and I think that's all part of the deception. And I think what they were planning, but obviously I've ruined it, is to try and say that there was executions, falsify those executions, and make everyone believe that everything is okay. I'm really sorry. I think it's all coming out that everything was a lie, even that was a lie, where they were hoping that that's what they could do. Now that's a very good sign, because that shows us they were trying to find an exit route out of this, but of course they wanted the fraudulent system to remain, and they were possibly hoping that I would accept the fact that they have um, done these. Did I say crucifixion earlier? Executions. I meant, if I did say crucifixion, can't remember what I said. I'm getting quite tired. Executions. But of course, this comes back to the guillotine evidence. This would be why I had the information through divine information, but also through evidence acquired, how important the guillotine evidence ties into the immortality, because what they can do is falsify every other execution method, but they can't falsify, or it's very difficult to falsify, a guillotine execution. If you film it in the right way and you show the person's face and you show the decapitation of the head, very, very difficult. As long as you show all around the body as well and the neck area, then the only way you could falsify that is through artificial intelligence, really, or very clever animatronics or makeup, but it could still be done in a way where you can prove it was genuine. So I think this was part of the reason that I managed to acquire this evidence, and that obviously ruins everything, because if they were trying any sort of execution that wasn't a guillotine, it wouldn't work. And even then, it would need to be public and videoed for the world. But I don't agree with personally, I don't agree with any executions, no matter what. That's my personal opinion, because we come back to then creator of thou shalt not kill, which we now need to instill back into humanity. Unless it's in defense. I believe nothing should be killed unless it is in self-defense, if it is a sentient being, if you like. That doesn't mean you don't protect people from people within society, victims from people within society, by the correct punishment, etc., or the correct isolation, etc. But I actually think you'll find that if I end up being who it looks like I may be in this, and I bring about the system that I plan to bring about in this, I don't think hardly anyone will be committing crime, to be honest with you, because it will be based on moral conscience, because drugs won't be such an issue, alcohol won't be such an issue. All of these things that I've talked about, the system will protect humanity. And I actually find it's just going to be incredible, everyone. I can actually envisage it. I can see it being the case. Of course, it's not going to be an overnight thing, because you've got a lot of people that are very, very damaged, that are committing crime because they are damaged by the system. But you will find over time that over probably the next generation or two, you will find that will become almost completely obsolete, and we will reset to it'll practically be heaven on earth, everyone. I really it's just so exciting, because I honestly believe we are literally on the verge of heaven on earth for future generations, definitely. Possibly not quite ours, but that's not the most important thing, is the future for the children and humanity. So it's very exciting, everybody. Very, very exciting. We love you, Gary. Thank you. What a way you carry. Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate your comment. It really means a lot to me, more than you know. But please keep praying and giving thanks to wherever all of this is coming from, being given to me. All right, it's coming through me for whatever reason. Macron's wife is Macron's father. He married his dad. Really? That's the first time I've heard that. I've heard that his wife may be a man, but I didn't know. That's interesting. Okay. They are all evil swamp creatures, someone said. Demons. Gary, I should look into Maria Abramovich. Sorry. I keep pronouncing it wrong. They are all actors. They are infiltrators, liars, shields, controlled opposition plants to push a narrative. Yeah. People still believe in Q, in my honest opinion. One thing I haven't publicised actually is I've got at least two connections to me to QAnon. So there's an actual company called QAnon which makes references to me and links to Exborn Manor and makes references, it seems, to my wife's family. That's coming in from the wife's connection to it. The other side, my family in Kent, who was my dad's new family when he separated from my mum, that connects to a Collider company, but also to a We Are Q company, right? So for whatever reason, I appear to be linked into the QAnon side of things as well. You're talking straight away as well, and this isn't like a long connection away. You have Matt Houston pushing the migrant crap. You have Montgomery Toms forming fake protests. Dr. John Campbell pushing viruses. Yep, they're all part of it, everybody. I'm sorry to say, even Matt Houston, I suspect, has been positioned as part of the deception. He's the person that's going around, if you're not aware, supposedly, but he's not doing it publicly like I did. As far as I'm aware, he's not showing his face, he's not giving his name, and disabling these technology that he claims are fake, and he is not that are dangerous, and he is not talking about the company's house fraud at all, which relates to everything he's talking about. It just doesn't make sense. So, and he also, there was some contact I had with him. What happened? I can't remember actually. I wouldn't want to say anything wrong, but yeah, it doesn't make sense. If you really think they're a weapon, look at what's happened to me. I've gone and publicly disabled a cell tower with my face. Nothing's happened to me. They refused to even interview me for it. I never even got interviewed, even though I actually triggered an investigation against myself by saying I've disabled a cell tower to 8 different police staff whilst I was in the cells, and they refused to even interview me. And then I didn't turn up at court because I knew it was all a stage and a setup, and I'm still here. That was in November. Now, I've walked past multiple police officers. They've made me know they know who I am multiple times. They are not arresting me. They're not taking me out of the equation. All right, and that, I believe, is because they now know who I am in this. And they're not, the big question is, why not? Why not still get rid of me if I am exposing people to potentially real crimes? Why not just take me out to stop me doing that anymore? It's a huge question in this. And I think we're getting to why. John Campbell is actively a nurse. He's active as a nurse, someone said. Yeah, I've actually heard that. He does, the research links back into him from the fraud as well. People paying taxes, your money goes to all of these criminals. Yeah, exactly, Vanessa. Multi-trillions and trillions of pounds. There's actually a company, I mentioned it earlier, called 15 billion. They've actually put a company, 15 billion. It makes multiple connections throughout the research. And interestingly, the 15 billion number is also connected to the rebuilding of Ukraine. So, this is one thing we have to consider. Is it deception around the conflict going on in Ukraine, and they're making it appear as though that conflict is happening to some extent, and it's not actually happening, to launder the money through these conflicts. The same Campbell that was telling everyone to get jabbed. Yep. The island of Rum, the Forbidden Island, was the original Epstein Island. They are all Jeffrey Epstein. He's just the face. Human hunting has always been here. Look into Egg and Rum. EIGG and Rum. Thank you very much, Kaztuna. I've screenshot your evidence. Not aware of that. Thank you. My friend lives on Isle of Egg. Oh, right. Okay. Look into the musical instrument that was meant to go to Balmoral for the Queen Victoria, but she died. It went to Rum. It's satanic music. There was only 4 in the world. Thank you very much. Screenshotted that. For Catholics, May is the month of Mary. Mary means La Mer, the sea, where the dolphins live, and mermaids, and could refer to Waterman too. Yeah, thank you very much. Interesting. Thanks for that. Yeah. Am I a dolphin? Should I start doing dolphin sounds? It used to be owned by a Dutch guy called Keith Schellenberg. It was bought as a coup, yep, by the Islanders a few years ago. Thank you very much for that. So Andrew's joined the Black Eye Club. Oh, Prince Andrew's got a black eye now, has he as well? I didn't see that. Interesting. That LGBT lot use a place called Mermaids and hive quite a few. Thank you. Apparently they took out Oliver Tree. Oh, I've got a sandwich I can have in a minute. Forgot about that. Went for a bit of a nice walk earlier, and hence why I'm out in the sticks doing the video. I'm going to try and do that a bit more because it is lovely to have a walk, and then I can do a little bit of research on the phone as I'm going every now and then. And just where I am, it's really lovely. There's really nice views. It's a really nice place to be, actually. It's also inverted. Yeah, oh yeah, inverted. If I was going to use a key word as to what they've done, it is inversion. It's inversion, absolutely. And that actually links back into, you know, the Apple side of things and how that time. I was having a conversation with earlier, and I said, actually, do you know what all of the evidence goes back to? It all goes into, believe it or not, symbolically, and into the evidence, into the core of the earth, into the center of the earth. Believe it or not, if you were to pinpoint everything, what would symbolize everything that's gone on, including the Apple connection, including CERN and the gravity and the black hole and the connections being made to key individuals in this, you know, it's almost like the center of the earth, the core. And what else do we refer to as the core? We talk about core as being like in the center of, well, actually, I don't know if you do, but if you relate to maybe the seed in everything, the beginning of everything, right? Well, that's relates to the core, and the seed is where the roots come from. And you can't actually resolve a problem. This is a conversation I was having earlier, unless you get to the root of the problem. Well, we're literally at the seed of the problem, at the core, right at the core of the problem where this all began now, which means we're on the verge of a new beginning, literally on Earth. And that's why that core of the Earth, that sort of center point, really is a great symbology of where this is all leading, if I was to pick anything. Hopefully that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but nothing these evil monsters are up to surprises me anymore. Someone's put, Charlie Chaplin played Hitler. Yes, interesting. Yes, and HH is a letters that are coming up a lot at the moment, possibly relating to 2026, because you've got an 88 hold on, MM88. Well, 8 is a H, I think. GH, yeah. M is a H. The two M's, sorry, MM88. So the two M's, each of them is a 13, which could add up to 26, which equals the year 26 potentially. And then the two, if you convert the two M8s, then it becomes HH. Well, that's Heil Hitler. So you have 2026 potentially Heil Hitler. Now we know this all goes into the Nazi deception, but it actually goes back way before the Nazi deception, of course. But you know, obviously the Nazi element in this is really big. And in 2026, this year, you have Doomsday coming out, the movie, which links to the Grey Man, same directors, and the Grey Man, as I keep saying, appears to be linking in with me with timing and referencing. It came out in July 2022, which is the month that my investigation began, and when the CERN experiment took place, and also when the Georgia Guidestones were removed, and also when Elon Musk's brother purchased a drone company. Well, the book came out for the Grey Man on the exact same day as the incorporation of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which connects to me as well. So the Grey Man. Now, is this why there's a talk of the Greys? This is something else I need to look into. There's a lot of talk of the Greys. Is that supposed to be in relation to aliens or something? I can't remember, but I need to look into the Greys, because that's probably going to be relevant as well. I'm surprised we haven't all cracked up yet and been put into... Very difficult with the evidence now, isn't it, for them to do anything, really? Let's face it. Now we have this evidence. You know, it frees everybody from that being able to happen. But of course, so many people that would have happened to. So many people they would have unlawfully imprisoned, targeted, you know, victimized under the guise of they have mental health issues when they're actually behind it all. It's, you know, it's just so awful how many people have suffered. Now, even if the blood of the children on a mass scale is a deception, which it's not looking like it is, I'm afraid to say, you've still got people that would have killed themselves. Many people that would have killed themselves because they can't deal with this system. Many people that would be drug addicts that have killed themselves, alcoholics that have killed others. You know, so you're going to have the knock-on effect of death and evil as a result of this system anyway. So it's just so gone so wrong, everyone. It's just so heartbreaking. It was never meant to be like this. Never meant to be like this. They are the ones who create the mental institutions. Yeah, absolutely. I doubt they would lock themselves up. Exactly. And you know, you know, they wouldn't have brought this upon themselves. If you were to say, would you steal from yourself? Would you be happy for someone to steal from you? No, you wouldn't. And yet here you are with the criminal system. Where did it come from to make you not want to be stolen from? Well, it's just inbuilt in me, isn't it? Okay, and why haven't you used that as a guide to not do what you're now doing? Well, I don't know. Just temptation. Don't know. Well, this is where it's gone wrong, isn't it? Even they have the ability to be potentially converted through this, I believe, even possibly through this evidence. And this is really key to what I'm doing, is to try and get through to them in all of this, really, because that may be what really turns this around. And I honestly believe, because of that very thing that I've just said, that there is possibility to actually get them to realise, oh yes, this is what we should have done. Yes, we wouldn't want it done. We've just been tempted, or we haven't been thinking. You know, there's not really a good enough excuse for the evil stuff in this, but, you know, at all really. However, you know, if they've been indoctrinated into a lifestyle where that has been normal for them, you know, and you're born into that, and you're born in to think that everybody else is more insignificant and you are an elite. I mean, it's disgusting the fact they're even called elite. You are immortal or whatever, or you've got this secret society connection linking in with, and you're led to believe that is normal. I mean, it's very difficult if you're programmed to believe something is normal. How can you then turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, you're going to face the punishment that I decide for you doing what you thought was acceptable and normal? It's a really difficult judgment call, isn't it? Because I'm looking at it from a different perspective, with a whole different programming than what they have gone through. Very difficult situation we're in to know on, you know, the consequences, what the consequences should be for people in all of this. I'm going to miss loads of comments otherwise, because I'm going to head off soon. So I'm just going to work from the bottom up. Knows who Q was. Nobody knows who Q was. It got taken over when people started to wake up. Someone's put, thanks very much. Agreed, followed Q with hope, but when you follow the money, it all goes back to the same. But yeah, absolutely it does. All part of the same deception. The Moors bloodline, the massive deception is the top black nobility. They are hidden. His name is Hitler, you saying? Sorry. You said is Hitler. There is one photo of him. They run all of the deception. Thank you for that. I'll screenshot that just in case. Castona. Thank you very much. Dark Angel, I come in peace. Someone's put. Yes, Greys are aliens, like one in Disclosure Day. Interesting. Okay. Well, one of the things I've had to think is, if I turn out to be somebody significant in this, I've actually had to think, well, am I an alien, or is the alien a symbology of, you know, let's say Christ, for example. Let's just say that Christ was real and he was sent to Earth. That could be classed as an alien, couldn't it? All right, sent from the Creator, not from Earth, but sent spiritually, or sent physically, but through spirit as well, to Earth. So does that mean that the bloodline of Christ could be termed as aliens in that respect, but not aliens as we would perceive an alien, if that makes sense? This is one of the things I've been thinking about lately. Faith, you seriously need better eyes. None of us would be discussing this without Q. Where we go, one we all go was on the bell of JFK's boat. It goes back to Abraham Lincoln. Interesting. Have you heard anything about Ann Scare event? Ann Scare event at the World Cup. Ann Scare event. A scare event, like an event, like a PSYOP event. Yes, I've heard. I haven't researched it, but I have heard that something may happen in relation to the World Cup. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But, I've been thinking big things will happen over the last 3 years, and they haven't. We'll see. But, yeah, it could well be that they try and pull off some sort of deception around the World Cup. Yeah. The whole world is a stage, at least it's put. Yeah, it certainly seems to be that way. Q got people researching, not expecting others to do it. Yeah, so Q started, didn't it, was it 2016? I think it was around 2016. Well, that's when the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed, wasn't it? Well, in terms of when we publicly knew about Q. So 2016, so they've timed, 2016 is a really important year in all of this. You had the Pizzagate scandal, you had the ritual at CERN in August, you had the movie Inferno, you had loads of other stuff. I think Brexit was 2016, wasn't it? Loads of other big things which I've documented in that year. It was obviously very important to them. And obviously Donald Trump came in for the first time the year afterwards, 2017. But that's also when the St. Puy X links to the Vatican, and the X symbol also came along and was continued indefinitely. Right, so it had previously gone from 1970 to 1976, leading up to my birth in 77, and then in 17 it was then continued. It was then started continuously again, and they've got a meeting on the 1st of next month, the 1st of July, in relation to the St. Puy X. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's Pius X. If you put St. Pius you'll be able to read about it and see what I'm talking about. Thought you were a dog after the bark last night, not a dolphin. Q was a psyop to keep all of our keep us on our armchair, waiting on Trump to save us. Pied Piper. Yeah, no one is coming to save us. Yeah, I don't. That's what all the evidence suggests. Trump and Clinton are actors. Someone's put. It's not. It's all one big stage. Selection, not election. I don't think there's ever been a genuine democracy. I think it's always been fake from the beginning, to be honest with you, whenever they set the whole system up. Not true. Music been telling us this for decades. The Jam, town called Malice. Gary and Hive relates to the beehive, and they have mental health places with the word bee. I have seen it on the net about the bee. Thank you very much, Julie. Screenshot of that. But Faith Defender, there is no democracy, no bipartisan, no government. It is all controlled. Yeah, absolutely. There is. The evidence is overwhelming, everyone. There hasn't been a democracy. It's a false. What's the word I'm looking for? False choice. There's another word. My brain's not working tonight. Trump had to get in to stop Clinton. It was strategic. Hi, Garrett. There is no democracy. They'd already all decided he was going to get in. They're all working together. It's blatantly obvious. Hi, Gary. What do you think of the Rupert Lowe inquiry about the rape gangs? The rape gangs is a deception. And what I mean by that is it ties into the research I've already done. It started in Rochdale. Rochdale's MP at a key time was Cyril Smith, which links into key areas of the crime and the criminal network. Part of their agenda is the faith group deception, all right, and that's why I believe you're seeing what I think are staged deaths. I actually don't think that, what was his name? The guy that was stabbed on the driveway by a ethnic minority. I don't believe that was real. I strongly suspect it was not real. Let's put it that way. And also the attempt decapitation in Belfast. I don't think that was real. So what they're doing, I think they're staging these events to lead into a trigger event, to lead into, it looks like, some sort of chaotic, um, you know, riotous sort of behaviour or incident to distract from all the evidence that is coming out now. Because if they create a big enough event such as that, people are going to start fighting amongst themselves instead of fighting against the real problem, which is their system. Instead of fighting against a faith group, because we've been told that a faith group is involved in a crime, and therefore we then associate it with a skin colour, which is what they want. What we need to do is realise, well, actually, is this a deception? What's the evidence that suggests it is? Why would it be a deception? Yes, it would make sense that it's a deception because of this, this, and this. Tommy Robinson being involved, we know he's part of the fraud. Okay, why would they do that? Okay, they would stage that because of it fits the Albert Pike letter. Okay, for starters, which is a very important document in all of this. Now, you've got to understand everything they're doing is these are the biggest criminals ever imaginable. They're the biggest deceivers, the biggest cheats ever imaginable. They're linking in with Satan, all right, Satan worshipping. So everything they do is about deception. This is why they've dressed everyone up in suits within government who are well spoken. The biggest deception. They're the worst of the worst. By doing that, just the fact that they're not actually, it's worse than a burglar or a robber coming up to you who looks like a burglar saying, look, give me your money, I'm gonna hurt you. At least you know what you're getting. At least you know they're not trying to be something else. These people are far worse than that in the crimes that they seem to be committing through their system, and they're also trying to deceive you to make you trust in them. It's just inverted. Again, it's inverted, isn't it? And then the uniform. Now, put them in a uniform and then you'll trust them. Now, I was innocent in this, so whether I'm the only innocent person in the police in this, I have no idea. It's looking like it could be, but that's a huge, if it is, then that's pointing towards who I am in this, and it's just for whatever reason everybody else was corrupted other than me. I don't know how that happened, if that is the case. I mean, I was called the Duracell Bunny. I was literally running around constantly trying to go to all of the jobs, and I was looking for work. So what I mean by that is, if there was a problem on my patch that was affecting people, whether it be with drugs or whatever, then I would build evidence around warrants. I was quite known to do this. So I would get the intelligence together regarding a warrant. I would go and sign the warrant in the court, get it to the court, and then I would actually arrange a team of officers to conduct that warrant with me on an address in relation to drugs, etc. So that is what I would do if I had downtime, because I knew that the drugs was removing the moral conscience. Even back then, I knew that. I knew that that was what was going on, and it was creating the problems within these families, in these estates, etc. Because the drugs were clouding their ability to actually maintain moral conscience. So it was having this knock on it. Little did I know the police were actually behind the drug trafficking. At that point, I didn't have the evidence to know that the police are actually running the drugs around the world. So I was trying to fight something within the system that was actually creating it. It's quite ironic, isn't it? Hi Gary, what do you think of the hopefully the Rupert Lowe about the gang rape? Yeah, so Rupert Lowe's massively compromised by this, very clearly. If you can see it through the Company's House records, he's linked to 51 companies. One of them is Southampton Football Club, which links back into the laundering. There's crime all the way through it. He links to criminal firearms companies that were started with the same companies that links to the accountant of Exbourne Manor as well, which also links to pornography, okay, which links to the falsified prophecies. The pornography is a massive element of this. People haven't realised that because they've been led to believe it's okay, but they've then escalated the pornography. And whichever way you look at it, if you're in a relationship, and you're focusing your attention away from your partner, then that's going to have an effect on your relationship. And then, of course, you've got the degrading pornography that then escalates coming into that. Well, they're behind that. That links into, makes a connection into this same organisation that links to Christianity, that links to Exbourne Manor, that links to Rupert Lowe, that links to an article talking about international mafia and dictators and corrupt politicians. It even says that in an article linked to that company that is linked to Rupert Lowe. It's just mind-blowing, everybody. The evidence is just so there now. It's pretty overwhelming. And oh, sorry, I'm just going to lay down because my back's hurting a little bit in these brambly bushes. These are lovely. Do you know you can eat these? I don't know if you're aware, you can eat these. They don't taste great, but they smell like coconut. Yeah, and I actually had quite a few of those the other day. They don't taste very nice. Rupert Lowe, I've mentioned that. So as Janet Osbard, yeah, believe it or not, I've researched her the other day. It looks as though she's part of the deception. So she talks about the fall of the cabal. She's done loads of videos on it. She supposedly died in 2019, I think it was, in a camper van. Okay, in a camper van, 2019, and there was a suggestion she might have been unalived. Well, if anyone's going to be unalived, it would be me. And she has, it looks like she is linked into the fraud. So it looks as though that was even part of a deception. Now, this is what they were trying to use to get me to believe in Donald Trump. They actually linked in people tying in with the system, tried to get me to look at Fall of the Cabal, to then get me to believe in Donald Trump as part of it. But I saw through it. Oh yeah, I need to look at Amazing Polly. Sorry, you keep mentioning Amazing Polly, don't you, Carla? I need to have a look at her again. I did look, I think like 2 years ago or something, but I didn't delve into what she was saying too much. If Mark Steele would use your evidence, it would undoubtedly prove his case of them being weapons. Absolutely, Mark Steele is part of the deception. He wanted me to meet with him, where it was actually Rob the rat catcher that was trying to arrange it, with him, to meet with them to disable a cell tower. Me disable a cell tower, not them. And luckily I didn't fall for it. He connects to Sasha Stone. Mark Steele did a show with Sasha Stone. Well, Sasha Stone links in with the blood of the children, whether it's real or not, and the Vatican. And the research of Mark Steele goes straight into Bournemouth and to Exbourne Manor as well. None of this would be referring. Yeah. It states in the Bible, Jesus came in his Father's name. Where is the Father's name of Jesus? I don't know, but we've got to remember, we don't know how much of the Bible's been messed around with, do we? That's the trouble. That is the trouble. But very fortunately, we've got the element of love thy neighbour in there. Thank goodness that is there somewhere, because that is the foundation of all of this. You can't really go wrong with that. So who's removing them if Gary is speaking live? Who's removing what? The comments? Sorry, I haven't. I'm backtracking on the comments. I'm presuming you mean comments. So literally last night, I identified, or the night before, can't remember. They came up and they had two usernames, one for Ben Pope and one for Jock Condon, in the comments. Well, they are the names of one of them is the person that introduced me to my wife in 2007, which was arranged. The other one was the person that introduced me to Exbourne Manor. As soon as I mentioned, there's the name, Jock Condon, they removed all of the comments. All of the comments suddenly went prior to that comment, so I couldn't get a screenshot of his name. So that tells us they're in complete control of everything, which means they can control social media to the extent where why do they need to reduce the age of the restriction for the children if they can actually control it and stop the children even seeing any content? That's because they're behind it all. They're behind the whole thing. They're behind the grooming, whether it's real or not, of the children through social media. They're allowing that to have happened. Okay, and on the back of that, now they can now come in, use that evidence and the Jeffrey Epstein evidence to say, well, we need to restrict the age now of the children. Most people are going to go with that, aren't they? First glance, it looks amazing. Protect the children from the content. But what if they're behind that content in the first place that they could control? All right. And then they use that to gradually move into digital identification. All right. Verification in relation to protecting the children, and then to full currency control. And then they can then use that currency control as a part of a tribulation event and also funnel the money into their agenda. So in other words, when it comes to the time that they're ready to trigger their tribulation event, they literally cut off all finances to all humanity, and they then bring in the other tribulation elements of this, including earthquakes and tsunamis, etc. Oh, they just removed your comment on here, did they? That's interesting. Yeah, of Aquarius, so will be heaven on earth. Year of Aquarius. When does that start? Is that? Don't worry about answering my questions because I'm going to be coming off soon, so I don't want you to waste your time putting stuff to my questions. Maybe stop listening to Trump. Full stop. Yeah, well, they're actually giving evidence away. They're giving me. It's very clear. They're giving me information and evidence, which is leading to more evidence in my case to actually expose them. So, it is important for me to see what's going on, listen to what's happening. If I didn't know the fact that a day after, I think it was literally within 24, maybe 48 hours, I spoke about me having a potential connection to the bloodline of Christ, he suddenly is depicted as Christ in this social media post. And then he comes out and says that actually he was depicting himself as a member of the Red Cross. Well, that exact same day, I found connections in from a dream to the Red Cross that then became critical in all of this. And of course, the Red Cross very likely relates to the bloodline of Christ, the X symbol again. Hi, Gary. I've heard a lot about an event happening at the World Cup. Any truth in this? Have you heard of anything? Yeah, sorry, I'm going back on the comments here. So I sort of touched on that earlier. Very possibly, yeah, they may well try some sort of a staged deception event. Who knows? But it's definitely on the cards, isn't it, with them trying something. All the time we don't do anything about this, they're going to be trying to fit an agenda that suits them. And that will involve deception. Vanessa's put, it's been going on for 110 years. A lot of cows are made in the Dums at the Roslin Institute. Same place Dolly the sheep came from. Dolly was named after Dolly Parton. Look at Dolly the sheep code name and look into the numbers into it. Thanks very much, Kaztanar. You've got some good information on here. Thank you. Screenshot that. I've done the research around Roslin Institute, and I've found connections back into all of the fraud via that as well. Dolly the sheep was alive before, I think she died. That's interesting. Did she die 2006? I want to say. Was it 2003? If it was 2006, that's relevant again. There are many fruitarians who are very healthy. Yet, you know what? I'm probably, if I can bring myself to it, I will probably just eat fruit. I mean, it may come to the point soon, everyone, where I'll be living off the land, literally trying to forage from nature, which will be difficult with where I am unless I start eating things that I've never eaten before. It might be that a lot of people have to be doing that, depending on where this goes. And the longer everybody leaves it, the longer there is a chance where they're going to trigger some sort of an event that may be necessary. But Gary, they have 4 stomachs to digest the grass. Yeah, well, yeah, but I honestly think we could survive on grass. I had a conversation with someone about it, and they absolutely agreed. Now, obviously, we may be, until our body becomes accustomed, it may have an effect on us. But the fact that they're not getting protein, they're not getting anything else other than grass. So you've got to ask, well, how are they able to be so muscular and maintain this physique that they have if they're not having protein and stuff like that, even with 4 stomachs? I think a lot of what we've been led to believe, we've got to remember the deception in all of this. And of course, if they make us believe that we can't live on nature, all right, it facilitates their system even more, doesn't it? Because we're going to have to buy the food from them, which then gives them the ability to poison it and control us through that food as well. And of course, they make the money out of us and defraud us through it. The gatekeepers are on all ley lines at the moment. Someone's put, the gatekeepers are on all ley lines at the moment. I'm not too sure what that means, but thank you. Not really my area of knowledge, to be honest with you. Mary, did you know that Tolkien went there before he wrote Lord of the Rings? Oh, you're obviously speaking to where did he go? That's interesting. Don't worry about answering that. Yeah, he actually was he lived in Bournemouth and died in Bournemouth. R.R. Tolkien, according to the research I've seen. When his wife retired, I think they then moved there. Yes, they were. Plasma Gary. Jerry Sargent has said on his part 2 in YouTube. Be good if you could go through the transcript. Thanks, Julie. I'll have a look at that. Plasma Gary, okay. Back to the Future. Yeah, someone's put. Vanessa, thanks. But at least they know that we know. Yes, this is a big part of this, isn't it? But it's also potentially dangerous. If I can't get through to them in this to do the right thing, then obviously it makes it dangerous for everyone else. And this is where, you know, it could very easily become me ending up being an antichrist in this. Or if I end up cornering them to such an extent that they do, you know, trigger some sort of an event, which is what I don't want to happen, you know, but what can I do? I mean, you can't carry on living like this, that's for sure. Everyone is waiting for Jesus. It's a deception. It's Christ's code to do with the tree of life. I've been learning this today. Interesting. Thanks, Julie. The authorities are satanic. If everyone emailed the documents to all authorities and businesses, it's a start. Yes, absolutely. Well, one of my plans is to email to every solicitor. You know, I don't really want to be doing that all myself, but that is or to at least some solicitors, all MPs. But, you know, this is the sort of thing that everyone else could be doing, is looking at the solicitors in their local area and then copying me in on an email of them sending the document to those solicitors. I was hinting a matrix battery, Gary, as in looshing energy. Thanks, Julie. Even when Gary sleeps, he creates evidence. Oh, many of my dreams have led to evidence. Many of my dreams have become very relevant in this. Yeah, that was a bit of an awakening this morning with the 1333. And the numbers are relevant, aren't they? That year as well, don't forget. Remember, that year now links to a battle linking to the Flemings, same time as John Dee. Well, it's 13. In other words, 13, the number again that we always were talking about, and 33 when Christ died. Tim Cohen writes a lot about this, Charles being the Antichrist. Yep, thank you. I've spoken to him. Interesting. Initially, there was a little bit of contact. I continued sending him my evidence on. Now, he's probably a busy man, but it shouldn't take long for people to see that my evidence is critical in this, with what I'm saying, really. But I never really heard from him again. I don't think I had any contact from him again after that. See, my comments are getting taken off. The Moors bloodline you've said about Castona. Moors bloodline. Okay, I'll look at that. You put 1 O. I'm presuming that was deliberate because you've got more MOORES, but I'll have a little look anyway. Thank you. Battery is as in fight or battery. Yeah, thank you, Julie. She sounds so humble and approachable. Well, I'm going to come back down to the lady battery someone's put. I'm going to come back down to the latest comments. Sorry if I've missed some of the older ones there for you. And then this is my last go over the comments, and I'm going to head off. Bulk buy multivitamins, someone said. Ed Lead Scallan, Coral Castle in Florida, is on my ley lines, and the corner of Bermuda Triangle. Interesting. My wife's uncle, who is heavily implicated in the deception, his name, so I was led to believe, was A.G. Windsor or Adrian Windsor. He had a pub with somebody else, and I think it's still there, called the Bermuda Triangle in Poole, in Dorset, called the Bermuda Triangle. He links straight into key areas of all of this. Did you hear that Trump put all hospitals in America on notice? They were all handed a delivered letter. No, I didn't. That's interesting. I don't know what that was about. Have you actually researched the toxins that plants contain and produce as a survival mechanism? I've got basically a list of plants that you can eat. So I haven't researched specific toxins. I've just got a list of things that you can eat, if that makes sense. But I still need I need to learn a lot and look into it a bit. So much of nature is edible. That's what you are told, Faith Defender. Yeah. I think a lot of nature is edible. Um, they've told us a lot of stuff isn't. It's probably, I mean, it's difficult to know, isn't it? But I think they've certainly made it difficult for us to live off of the land. This is part of their strategy, isn't it? They've even written that as part of their strategy within the what is it? The what's it called? The Secret Covenant and other documents as well that I've seen. Charlie Veach, massively compromised. Yeah. So when I exposed his evidence, exposed his connection via his girlfriend and some, it looks like, connections to him, he then suddenly stopped doing any of the YouTube videos that he was doing, going, where he was confronting people in town centres. I think he's gone back to doing it now, possibly, but he stopped within, I think it was the day after or 2 days after I exposed him. All their buildings are on ley lines, Gary, to Loosh. Thanks, Julie. What can we eat? Someone's put. Hi, Gary. I didn't get a notification. Glad to join for a short while. Thanks, Absolute Hero. Hope you're okay too. Thanks very much for your comment. The apocalypse means revelation, exposing liars. That's what's happening. Someone's put. The Knights of Malta. Yeah, the night. Funny enough, Martin, you've mentioned that tonight because I forgot. That's one of the things I forgot. That ties in to the research that we're doing around the black nobility family members, and the Knights of Malta, or the Order of the Malta, connects to me, and it always comes with the Jerusalem Company. It seems to come together with that company on Company's House, and I first found out about that company, the Order of Malta, linked with this the honourable, what is it, the something St. Hospitaller of St. Jerusalem comes with it normally, and I only found out about that coming in from the research of John Harris. John Harris was the one talking about the Company's House fraud, okay, but not the fraud, but talking about Company's House. I now think he was positioned potentially for me to then get that evidence and follow it on through. He died supposedly in 2019, I think, again. So we have another person died around that time. So he linked into the fraud and also into those organisations, the Order of St. Malta and the, as I said, the Hospitalia of St. Jerusalem or something similar. I think Year of Aquarius has already started, Gary, which would explain truths coming out. Thanks, Julie. Somebody reckons I'm Mr. Aquarius because my name Waterman. Someone said that months and months ago. Don't know. Me too. They need to be stopped. It is beyond disgusting. Yep. Deception, deception, deception. We at Vane. Someone's put. I've already tried. Oh, what have I done there? Oh, sugar. I've accidentally blocked somebody. Who was that? Oh, sugar. Oh, view deleted message. Oh, it was Vanessa. That wasn't on purpose, Vanessa. Oh, it was just that message I deleted. I think I just deleted that message. That's lucky. That was an accident, by the way. Hopefully that is the case, Vanessa, and you're still on here. Absolutely me, Vanessa. What's your thoughts on Charlie Beach? Hopefully I've explained that. Gorse Flowers, yeah, that's the name of them. So who is on our side to bring the truth out to the world? Absolutely nobody, it seems, that has a platform. That's what it seems. Nobody that has a platform, believe it or not, other than me, seems to be exposing the fraud, and therefore you can't trust anyone. Now that again is pointing towards who I'm going to end up being in this, and they're positioning me or stepping or because they're not stopping my evidence completely. They're not getting rid of me completely. So why? Why aren't they doing that? And why is there this link into the Grey Popes with a potential oversight in all of this? Gary, lol. They feed off of negative energy. Vanessa's put, and you're compromised. Wow, how effing disgusting. You lot need sectioning. Oh yeah, let's get rid of that person. Sorry, I've only just seen that. They're gone. the lioness. It was interesting. They'd only put one comment I saw there. Significant date, birth of Diana. July the 1st is significant. I'll have a look at that. Thank you. There are dates are really proving very interesting in this now. There's a date, thanks to other information from someone else. There is a date that Prince William and Kate Middleton got married. That date is the 66th anniversary of the marriage, I think, of Hitler and Vera Braun. That's not going to be a coincidence, everyone. 66th anniversary. Hungary strike. Temple of the Dog. Yes, live. Gary, are you an alien? Lol. Who knows what? I mean, I don't think so. I remember being a child. It's interesting because Superman links to me. He was an alien, wasn't he? Gary, are you an alien? Elon Musk will have to face his creator. Yeah, he's such a big part of this. He's such a big part of this. And I do try and look at the good side in everybody. I try and look at, well, what if they're, aiming for this and they're doing it for this reason? But you still come back to a deception, and deception, whichever way you look at it, is not good, is it? It's the opposite of the creator, so it's evil. It's the opposite of transparency. It's the opposite of the creator, secrecy and deception, opposite of truth and transparency, really. So look what 17 means in the Bible. Interesting, thank you. I found pictures of an old mental hospital, and they had those fairground mirrors above the sinks in the bathroom, the mirrors that distort you. That's what we're dealing with. Wow, dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's awful, isn't it? Just to make these people even more unsure of what real, these poor people that are being made to think that they are suffering from mental health. Exactly, it's the timeline of exposing this goes back centuries. I'm going to head off, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to me waffle on. Really appreciate it. Hopefully the evidence made a bit of sense there. So we've got this connection into it looks like the massacre or the culling of the dolphins being a deliberate reference, and where they're trying to backtrack and hide that connection. Now we can only assume that they were massacring the children in the same way as those poor dolphins and whales. That is what I have to consider with the amount of evidence that I'm getting, which means obviously we're talking about ultimate evil for anybody that would do that to a child. I'd already found the evidence suggesting that they were skinning the children alive, so this now just supports that evidence as well. We also touched on, just to recap, some of the information tying into the black nobility and how they created a double deception booking system, which would have led into the false accounting now happening around the world, which links into actually to the Jim Carrey evidence that was provided to me. I think that was deliberate with that video of him where it didn't look like him. The Caesar Awards, again linking in with Rome, and he gave the name of the lady of a relationship that he was in. I checked that out. It turned out to be a company. When you put the two names together, led into proof that the entire world system is centralized to a criminal accounting network. So that is now being supported by this information linking back in with the black nobility to allow them to launder the money through into the falsified prophecies, tying in with the scripture, linking in with the infiltration of the Catholic Church, tying in with the deception around the blood of the Holy Communion, and tying in with the blood of the tortured children. So we talked about all of that. We talked about a link to 1333, going back now to the Flemings, which is a very critical time in all of this, not only by the year because of the numbers 13 and 33, but also because of the time that John Dee was around and the fact that it related to a specific battle, and that came from my dream, everybody. Now, are they inputting those images into my mind? I don't know. But that came to me from a dream, woke me up and led me, because what you're talking about is not only like, let's just say they implanted that information into my head through that dream. Let's just say they did that. I woke up, that then logged the 1333. So I was then doing a little bit of research about it. But it was whilst I was in contact with someone else that day when that 1333 became relevant to the conversation, okay, with what we were talking about, which was actually all we were talking about John Dee's time of prominence, which was in the 1300s. And then I thought, I wonder, I then made that link. John Dee was the reference between 007. I wonder if there's a Fleming name that goes back to that time. Oh, I had a dream of 1333. I wonder if I type in Fleming 1333, what will that come up with? And it came up with literally the battle 1333 with key prominent members of the Flemings. So now I can say Fleming, time of John Dee, influence of 007, joining that dot. I mean, that cannot have been them, unless the only way it could have been is controlling my mind, controlling that person, but that person wasn't mentioning that at all. That was me mentioning it based on some of the information they were talking about, all right, that then triggered me to look into, think of John Dee. So that could not have been, I don't see how that could have been arranged unless they were controlling both of our minds, which I'm not ruling out completely, but let's just say that's highly unlikely, isn't it? Highly unlikely. If they were controlling my mind, then they wouldn't be allowing me to put faces in a document to expose people to the skinning of children alive, all right, and all of this other evidence that I'm now finding. So now, if it's divine, then that's pretty massive. That the 1333 led to that on the same day, didn't even know it was going to. And then you look at every other dream I had, the concaving of the earth, and the next day that led to the evidence of the apple being relevant to the, and now becoming actually relevant to me, to the apples in Kent, which ties into CERN and symbolically the importance of the apple and how this relates potentially to a second person. I mean, it's for this to be them, it's highly unlikely. So then you're coming back to, I'm becoming the proof of the creator through the evidence. Of course, if I'm telling the truth, because you don't know I had the dreams, etc. But, you can check that everything else I'm saying is true through the document. So you can follow that through to say, well, everything else Gary's saying is true. We can't really say that he's not having these dreams that's leading to this information. So then it's starting to wake people up to a creator, which is bringing everybody back to conscience again through the creator and through the evidence. So it's massive. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Thanks very much for listening and waffling on, and I've just continued to waffle even after I said I was waffling. So I do apologise. But anyway, thanks very much, everyone. Again, please, lots of prayers for yourself as well, for your families. To pray for yourself and for your families, for me, for nature, for everything good in this on this earth, which is most things, to be honest with you. We've just got a few very corrupted, misguided individuals. Otherwise, this would be heaven on earth, everybody. And that, I believe, is where we are heading with all of this, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have this. And I think that's where it's heading. So hold that in your minds, be very positive, and get behind this. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.